employees and funding for road repairs in a $19 million budget. Carmel also approving $233 million for 2025, with police and firefighters getting significant increases in funding. Valerie McRae, the Democrat running for Indiana's open seat in the U.S. Senate, claims inflation has not been as bad as what you've been led to believe.
We have to stop, for one, perpetuating a myth that somehow the United States have more inflation than other countries. In fact, we are the lowest.
On All Indiana Politics, she also says it's been Democrats who have historically passed balanced budgets, and that they also want to try and get a handle on the national debt. Well, to tamp that down, it's to ensure the rich pay their fair share. An 11-year-old child abducted from Iowa found in Indianapolis. State Police Sergeant John Perrine says that they worked with officers in Iowa City to find the child.
We rely a lot on investigative technology, and they were able to use that technology to relay information to us quick, and our troopers were able to get into the area that they believed the person was at.
They arrested Ronique Pittman, the child's non-custodial mother. IU head coach Kurt Signetti says that he has every confidence in Taven Jackson at quarterback for his team. Jackson will be starting at quarterback against Washington this Saturday for the injured Curtis Rourke, who is out with an injury to the thumb on his throwing hand. Traffic on the 5s, Matt Bear.
All right, Kurt, on the east side, Lawrence, northbound 465. Cleanup continues on a crash at Pendleton Pike. This northbound 465, right shoulder blocked. Traffic stop and go back to Washington Street, US 40. Westbound 465 on the south side, stopped again from I-69 over to the White River. Crash reported in the area. Looking at northbound 465 on the northwest side, slow from 86th Street up to 865. Traffic sponsored by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Train Heating and Cooling Systems are engineered to keep up with you. They run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. It's hard to stop a train. I'm Matt Bear with traffic on the 5s. Follow us at WIBC Traffic.
Jennifer McCormick couldn't name a single thing she disagreed with Hillary Clinton on. That's because, just like Hillary, McCormick backed failed liberal policies. She endorsed Bidenomics, said she'd be honored to serve in Biden's administration. She opposed school choice, and she even supports biological boys playing girls' sports.
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
I did vote for Hillary Clinton. She had some great, world foreign policy experience. So, I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
It gets worse. Here's what Jennifer McCormick says about Donald Trump.
I cannot get behind that. Never voted for Trump, never will vote for Trump, never was behind Trump, never will be behind Trump. I just cannot get behind a party who is behind that type of leadership. To me, it's nonsensical.
Jennifer McCormick, hopelessly liberal. Paid for by Mike Braun for Indiana.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors. For 1951 cabinetry, visit Drexel's Kitchen and Bath Design Centers at 146th and River Road, North Shadeland, or drexelin.com.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, your American Standard air dealer in Hendricks County.
We already did traffic. The forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Sunny skies, warm temperatures, breezy at times this afternoon. Today's high 77, mostly clear, quiet, and comfortable overnight. A low of 55. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey for 93 WIBC.
53, a clear radar, sunny downtown. I'm Kurt Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Kamala Harris is a train wreck. 93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Ethan Hatcher from Saturday Night on the Circle joins us, and Kev is here, and we'll get to Kamala Harris in just a moment. But first, I have made an executive decision, programming-wise, on this show today. Now, normally, we run our True Crime Tuesday at 10:15, and we are scheduled to have Aphrodite Jones, one of the great authors, to join us today. She has a re-release of a book she put out in the 90s that is just a fascinating book. Kev, I've decided I'm going to move True Crime Tuesday to 10:30.
Oh, my goodness.
Just going to go ahead and move it. I'm going to make an executive call here. We're going to remove True Crime Tuesday to 10:30 because at 10:15, We are going to get to the bottom of what in the world is going on with the plumbing in this radio station and why the toilets here at WIBC are always overflowing. They're not working. There's brown stuff everywhere because it happened again yesterday.
I feel like the toilets are really just a symptom of a larger problem, because I would also like to note we are 3 headphones deep this morning for me to find a working pair of headphones around the radio station.
Yeah, everything's
computers are
broke here.
breaking. The news box is breaking. Everything's falling apart.
Now we're all broken.
Well, and some things are just annoyances, but the toilet thing, I've reached my limit with it. So we're gonna have Denny Smith on at 10:15. Of course, Denny spent many years as a plumber. This was Carl's suggestion, by the way. Carl, Tony's fabulous producer, gave me the idea for this, and he's right. I had initially addressed it out of hand. Then I thought, no, I think we've reached a crisis point with the plumbing in this building. So at 10:15, we're gonna have Denny Smith, master plumber, on the radio show to explain how plumbing works in a building of this size and why these toilets always overflow here at WIBC.
I can't believe Tony Katz stole producer Carl from me. Producer Carl used to be my domain. I used to get all that good service and good advice from producer Carl, and now Tony Katz and you are the beneficiaries.
All right. So our 10 o'clock hour is going to look like this. We're going to have Donnie Burgess on at 10 o'clock to talk about Delphi. We're going to have Denny Smith on at 10:15 to talk about the plumbing. And then we're going to have Aphrodite Jones with True Crime Tuesday at 10:30. Everybody agree? All right, here we go. Let's get out of the gate. Like I said, it is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Ethan's in for Casey today. It is hard to lose to Donald Trump. Right. I mean, like I think we're both voting for Donald Trump. I think we're both, which it blows my mind that you are voting for Donald Trump.
Yep. Look, those are the choices that I have available. It would either be vote for Donald Trump or don't participate. And I've participated in every election since I was legally eligible to vote. So,
okay. So we could both say this as Trump voters, but Trump doesn't exactly run great campaigns. Like if you put a normal, competent person who could articulate any sort of vision that resonated remotely with middle-class America, you should be able to win the presidency against Donald Trump.
In theory, but I've stopped trying to figure out Donald Trump, because anything that should or would sink any other campaign only seems to benefit the Teflon Don. So I mean, maybe he's just a mega genius and we're amiss to what's going on, because he seems to turn everything on its head. Like what you were talking about with the they're eating the cats and they're eating the dogs comment.
That's brilliant.
It didn't matter whether or not it was actually factually accurate, which blows my mind, because apparently it's more important that the conversation was drawn to the immigration crisis overall, and that was the most expedient way of doing it. It wouldn't fly with any other politician, Rob. If anybody else tried that,
right.
If Ron DeSantis said that, career over. With Donald Trump, maybe he's a genius.
I take a little credit for this, Ethan, that I'm sort of like a mentor to you, right?
Yeah.
Kind of
big brother.
Yeah, and if I've taught you anything, it is that in entertainment, which basically our politics are entertainment now, in the court of public opinion, if you are able to, or the court of public debate, if you're able to debate or set the terms on your terms, then you're almost always going to win. And one of the things that Donald Trump does better than probably any person I've ever seen is that he almost always sets the debate, sets the conversation on his terms. And if you look at many people who voted in 2020 for Joe Biden were pretty straightforward. They said, we kind of like a lot of what Trump did. We don't like Trump, and we crave normalcy, or what we believed normalcy to be, from the president of the United States. Now, obviously, politically, you did not get that from Joe Biden. People, and I have no idea why they believed this, but they did, that he would create some sort of moderate middle ground as president of the United States.
You know why? Because he was riding on the coattails of Barack Obama. When people were voting for Joe Biden, they were voting for the halcyon days of 2008 to 2016. And regardless of how much we may disagree with elements of Barack Obama's policy, he was still a very popular president and very well regarded by many Americans. And I think when people were voting for Joe, that's what they had in their mind.
Yeah, so the reality is people hate the policies, whether it is the border, whether it is the inflation, the growth of government, the foreign policy. Even the thing that was this like invincible silver bullet, which was Ukraine, has crumbled. And so Joe Biden clearly became such a drag on the ticket that they had to remove him from the campaign, despite the fact that nobody voted for Kamala. She gets to be the nominee. And one of the things that Kamala Harris has really struggled with and does to this day is this juggling act of denouncing Biden, running from Biden, because the great lie is, oh, everybody really liked Biden. Everybody really liked Biden's policies. So it's hard to run from the policies when you claim everybody liked the policies.
Did they have to get rid of Joe? I guess is my question to you. Have they gained anything by swapping candidates with Kamala? Because I think certainly toward the end, media was seeking to sabotage Joe because they thought that pulling a coup would be more beneficial overall to the Democrat Party. I think that's proven not to be true with Kamala at the helm. Would they have been better off just to keep Joe and clean up the act?
Well,
put him in the basement again like they did in 2020.
It's a great question because they're totally stuck on this. She's stuck on this. Of course, she went on The View and couldn't answer the question. Yeah, and Corinne Jean-Pierre got asked about this yesterday, and she refused to name one area where Kamala Harris and Joe Biden differ.
Can you think of any issue, foreign policy or domestic policy, in which the vice president has a differing point of view than the president? Any daylight between them.
Here's what I will say. I will say that they've been critical partners, as I've said many times, and it is true. You've heard that from both of them. And they're partners in the way that this administration has moved forward on many issues and the issues that they've had to really answer to the American people.
They're stuck. She's stuck. Kamala's stuck. And then the biggest problem they've got is Biden, because Biden hates her, and I don't think Biden wants her to win, is out there telling people she was my best partner. She was a great teammate. We did all this stuff together.
They've both gone on the record many times to say that they are part and parcel working in tandem with one another. What comes from Kamala is from Joe and vice versa.
So Kamala did a town hall yesterday with Liz Cheney. Did you see this? Liz Cheney. No. If you were to say who's somebody who I could stand on a stage with that will really push me over the top with the undecided people.
Oh, yeah, Liz Cheney, very popular amongst the undecided.
She came up with Liz Cheney. I can't think of a worse person. But the other thing that became abundantly clear is Kamala Harris cannot, I mean, it has become abundantly clear, is that Kamala Harris cannot think for herself.
You remember when the left hated the Cheneys?
Well,
they used to compare Dick Cheney to Satan.
Yes. But it's proof. It's like what we've talked about, where they're all of these politicians, they're all basically just the same person. And so many people are so unprincipled that it's just their guy, or in this case, girl, winning is all that matters. They don't even know what they're winning anymore. It's just the idea that the other side didn't win. And so Shriver, Maria Shriver, I think, was the host of this town hall. Of course, she was married to, I think, Schwarzenegger, and she's linked in with the Kennedy family, obviously. And she got asked if questions were going to be allowed at this town hall, and listen to her response.
You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head. I hope so.
Predetermined.
So you
at least they're saying it out loud.
So you go to the Kamala Harris event with Liz Cheney. You've got a couple questions. Oh, no, we won't be having any of those. And yes, I'm glad you caught on to the phrase predetermined. What are the questions? They're all predetermined.
She is not an extemporaneous speaker, Rob.
All right, let's take a break. We'll get to that. Kamala got asked about working at McDonald's. We'll get to that in a little bit. But when we come back, one state, Ethan, and we're starting to hear rumblings of this here in Indiana, one state has a proposal on their ballot this fall that would get rid of property taxes. We'll talk about that coming up next. Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Airstrikes in Beirut, Lebanon overnight.
93 WIBC.
Multiple buildings in ruins.
Hear the news.
Burning anything outside this week is not a good idea.
Elevated fire risk.
Wind gusts could get up to 25 miles an hour.
Another news update is minutes away.
Indiana will have a new senator come 2025.
Jim Banks, if elected to the Senate.
Indiana Hoosier football team 7-0. They moved up to 13th, 56-7 victory over Nebraska.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
Christine said, I highly recommend this company. They did my garage floor and I absolutely love it. I'm planning on having them do my patio in the spring. Don't wait. Call them today, 317-751-9070. That's the number for Galaxy Concrete Coating. They can turn any concrete surface into a much better space. Find them online, galaxyconcretecoatings.com, or call them 317-751-9070.
Fall in Indy is great, but don't spend it painting. Do what your neighbor Don did. He called Rhino Shield.
Well, the home was built in 1948. Paint on the aluminum siding was peeling, and I couldn't find anyone who would repaint it until I called Rhino Shield.
Rhino Shield's better than paint, and the crew
Painted all my aluminum siding, and I've got a front porch that runs the whole length of the house and all the pillars. And once they were gone, I couldn't even tell that they were there.
And right now, Indy, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price. Plus, there's more great news. Rhino Shield has partnered with Green Sky Financing to offer affordable monthly payments with 0% interest loans to qualified customers.
Well, I've told a lot of people, do the Rhino Shield. It's really a great product, and that would be the way to go.
And here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
Call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint. Go Rhino.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Get a great deal on select Kubota equipment. The BX Series is the #1 selling subcompact tractor in the U.S. The versatile lineup is built to help you make the most of your land. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months or save up to $3,100. Now through November 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Stop by McAllister Machinery in Fishers and Indianapolis to see their full line of Kubota or visit them online at McAllisterKubota.com.
Pat Sullivan here, hoping not to spook you, but did you know that you could have a pipe leaking and not even know it? My friends at Hope Plumbing highly recommend the installation of Streamlabs, which is a water leak detection at your fingertips. A Streamlabs system will detect, notify, and prevent possibly thousands of dollars worth of damage by automatically shutting off the water. Call Hope Plumbing today at 641-HOPE to schedule an appointment to keep those pipes from giving you a fright.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Indiana has nearly 2,800 pig farmers and ranks 5th in the country in pork production. Hoosier pig farmers are raising some of the finest pork in the nation. October is National Pork Month. From family farms to innovative operations, Indiana's pig farmers are committed to quality and sustainability, all while providing your family pork that's packed with protein, vitamins, and minerals that are good for you. So the next time you're at the grocery store or your favorite restaurant, make pork your choice and celebrate Indiana pig farmers.
This is Danny Reinhardt with Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. Give us a call for any of your heating and cooling needs. We're here to serve you. 317-745-4526.
Reinhardt is your trusted local independent American Standard Air dealer.
So we hear a lot of talk about property taxes this election season, and one state has a ballot initiative that would get rid of them altogether. It's Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC. I'm Rob. Ethan's in for Casey today. So North Dakota has a ballot measure, Measure 4, that would wipe out property taxes in their state. And I think this is interesting because, let's face it, the dominant conversation throughout much of this election cycle here in Indiana has been about skyrocketing property taxes, which almost every single state in the union is seeing.
Yes.
And the greater question becomes, number one, what is the government, the leaders, the decision makers, what are they going to do about it? But the broader question is, does the government have a right to have a forever lien on your property, which is what property taxes are?
Yes, taxation is theft. I would say no, but obviously they have taken that onto themselves. You look, North Dakota being a thinly populous state, I imagine most of their tax base isn't coming in from the property taxes, and they have natural deposits like oil wells in there. I think they'll be just fine without it.
So the broader question in North Dakota is, if you get rid of property taxes, by the way, Ethan, the Price is Right rules here. Kev, you can get in on this. Would you like to take a guess on how much across the country this is the entire country, how much across the entire country is collected in property taxes from just single-family homes?
Jeez.
Just so take away businesses, apartments, single-family homes.
From across the country?
The entire country. How much is collected in property? By the way, Market Watch has this article about this topic, if you'd like to read it for yourself.
Jeez. I want to say 20 billion.
20 billion. All right. Kev, Ethan's in at 20 billion. Where are you?
12 billion.
$363.3 billion. Ethan, you're nowhere close, but you do win the Showcase Showdown, or come on down for the Showcase Showdown.
I thought I might be a bit high with 20 billion.
Think about that. This says municipalities across the country collected $363.3 billion in property taxes from single-family homes last year. This is according to an article in
So
Market
that excludes commercial property tax
and apartments and everything else. So I mean, we're talking about, and this is, I think that.
So altogether, that would be more than $1 trillion if you're incorporating.
Oh, totally. No doubt. No doubt. If you put the apartments and the
shameful,
twos and
Rob.
farmland. Oh, it is. It is. And so this is interesting. I had a long conversation yesterday with a prominent Central Indiana school administrator about property taxes and about the tax code in Indiana. And look, the reality is nobody knows this stuff better than me. Nobody was better at cutting property taxes than me. And I'm proud of it because it's hard. I'm proud of things that I did well that were hard. There's something like, this is easy, right? Coming in here talking for 3 hours a day is easy. That was hard because, especially in a state like Indiana where you've got caps and you've got other municipalities that are involved in the tax caps, and the ability to effectively cut property taxes is very hard in the state of Indiana as a municipal legislator, and I did it better than anybody's ever done it. And so I was talking with this person. They asked, about different things going on with their school district and things that they could be doing and areas where they thought maybe there could be changes made and what I thought about these changes. And we were working through this, and I said, one of the major problems with property taxes in the state is, by and large, nobody understands them. By and large, even the people who make the laws do not understand the property taxes in the state of Indiana, which is why, if you look at all three plans for the people running for governor, they're all in their own way, or at least initially, kind of a disaster that we had to get laughed out of the room. So let's start with McCormick, right? Her plan is a non-plan. It simply says we're going to bankrupt the state to cover for local governments. There's no reforms in there. There's no mandates on local governments. There's no restrictions. There's no nothing. It just simply says the state will take all the money from the state reserves and we will back up whatever the local governments do, and we will give you this money on your state tax return. Well, that's not a plan. You're out of money in 4 years. Let's take the Braun plan. The Braun initial plan was a complete disaster that didn't work and it didn't help anybody. And it took me to point that out. Now, to their credit, they finally said, you're right. They fixed it. I think the plan now they have is pretty good with the reset to 2021 levels, caps growth, but it doesn't get us out of the property tax game altogether.
It's a starting place.
It is, right? And by the way, I've heard people go, well, how could it be that Micah Beckwith is supporting J.D. Prescott's plan to get rid of property taxes, but Mike Braun's plan doesn't get rid of property taxes? I think people like Mike have been pretty clear. The goal should be long-term to get out of property taxes, like J.D. Prescott and that bill that he's working through the House of Representatives right now would ultimately do. It's not going to happen instantaneously. It's not going to happen overnight. The Mike Braun plan is a great starting point, is a great way to begin the process, begin the conversation of ultimately getting us out of the property tax game. And go ahead.
There is at least one candidate who's promising to get out of the property tax game entirely, though, and get rid of property taxes. I think we haven't gotten to him yet.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Rainwater's plan, of course, would eliminate property taxes entirely except for, what was it, a 7% cap, 7% sales tax that you could pay up front or for the 7 years after, or 1% annually for 7 years after purchase of your property, and then it would go away until the next sale date.
And then what? Yes, right. Thank you. Yes, you just answered my question. You ask Don, and then what? And he stares at you. This is my point about the Rainwater plan and the McCormick plan are equally unserious on the totally opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Like, she bankrupts the state. Oh, she has no accountability for local governments.
Are you telling me we can't find $4 million fields here and $20 million G League teams there and, et cetera, egregious spending on these local governments to make up for eliminating property taxes, Rob? I thought we were on the same page there.
No. But like the Rainwater plan, he has no numbers for anything. Like, Ethan, more
specificity would be delightful.
Yes,
it would tickle my fancy immensely.
Right? It's like we have two equally unserious ones on both sides. And so my point in all of this, though, is the conversation, and this is what North Dakota, now you're right, in the case of North Dakota, they actually mandate that the state fully fund the local governments. Like, this is what this bill actually says, is that the states will fully fund the local governments. But you're right. They obviously have industry that
oil
other states do not have, by which they have a plethora of riches that they could actually do this. Now, they actually had this proposal in 2012, and it failed. They had the same, almost exact same proposal in 2012. But the broader conversation in this state has to be about, does the government have a right to have a forever lien on your home, because that's what they have, and that forever lien has no accountability to it whatsoever, because the forever lien is there if market rate, if market prices, as they have over the past 3 or 4 years, double, triple, whatever, there's never any sense of accountability of what is the government's standard in all of this? What are they held to account with all this? Government is always the victor in the property tax game, and you, the taxpayer, are always the loser.
Not only do you have the inflation rate and the influence of your neighbor's sales price to affect your property taxes, you have a lot going on with that.
What a hot take, Ethan. I love it. Yeah. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, a Ball State professor says Trump voters are racist, Ethan. You are a racist. Somebody who is not racist is Kurt Darling. He's got the news coming up next.
It's October and the weather is changing. And if you want in on a little secret, October is the best time to buy new windows. Fixing your old windows before winter is a priority. Call who I called, Window Nation.
For every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 for free. And there's no limit. So think about how much you could save, and your house will look better. Your heating and air bills will be lower because these windows are energy efficient. 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Where are the candidates? Radar is clear. It's 57 and sunny downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:30. Former President Trump and Vice President Harris are hitting key swing states with just 2 weeks before the election. Trump is in North Carolina North Carolina on Monday to tour hurricane damage in Asheville. Harris has been on the road hitting Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, just to name a few. Most polls have them neck and neck in key swing states. More aerial attacks on Israel by Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Hezbollah says it launched dozens of rockets into Israel just hours ahead of Secretary of State Blinken's arrival here to push for a ceasefire and a peace deal. A senior State Department official tells Fox when it comes to any solution in Gaza, it's unclear what the next few weeks will hold. Hamas needs to figure out its own leadership in order to get back to the table.
Fox's Matt Finn. If you've saved up $1,000 for a World Series ticket, well, you'll need to scrape up just a little bit more cash. SeatGeek is reporting that the least expensive ticket for Game 1 of Dodger Stadium at the World Series on Friday is $1,034. Your opening bell report on 93 WIBC brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management, LLC. Another bad day, it seems, at least to start the day. The Dow was off 141 to 43,036. The NASDAQ down 122 to 20,397. And the S&P 500 is down 26 to 5,869. I'm Kirk Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
If we are truly the racing capital of the world, we want our audience to be more reflective of the world around us. And Radio 1 has been a great partner in helping us do that.
How can a partnership with WIBC serve your business?
I'm Michael Kaltenmark, Senior Director of Marketing for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and proud partner and client of Radio 1.
Diversity.
Radio 1's diverse reach not only allows us to get our message in front of a diverse audience, but then also gets those folks interested as we look to invite more diverse audiences to the track to join us, to let them know that the Speedway is open to them and that they're welcome there. And they've been a strategic partner in helping us achieve that goal.
Deliver your message to the audience that matters.
We've been able to attract an even larger audience and fill the Speedway with more people because of our partnership with Radio 1.
Text business to 71007 to take your advertising to the next level.
Radio 1's right there with us in the trenches.
Get results with WIBC.
Looking for a great deal on a new Lincoln? Come to Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers. 0% for 60 months is back. Get 0% APR for 60 months on every new 2024 Lincoln Navigator and get a $4,000 discount. You can also take $3,000 off every new 2024 Lincoln Corsair, 70 available. We look forward to seeing you at Tom Roush Lincoln in Fishers.
Well-qualified buyers with approved credit. Not all buyers will qualify. Taxes and dealer fees extra. Stock L24401, MSRP 107425. Stock L24284, MSRP 43435. See dealer for complete details.
Cybersecurity Awareness Month is in full swing, and LifeLock is here to spotlight the threat of phishing. Those sneaky scams designed to trick you into revealing your personal information. While staying alert is important, true protection goes beyond just awareness. That's where LifeLock steps in with comprehensive protection. LifeLock doesn't just warn you about suspicious activity. LifeLock monitors your personal info and resolves identity theft issues if they arise. Take control of your security. Start your 30-day free trial at lifelock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
My brother never checks on dad. Or my sister won't make time to take mom to the doctor. Are these things you've heard yourself say? This is Tina McIntosh, president of Joy's House and co-host of the Caregiver Crossing radio program. I have a caregiving tip for you. Stay tuned.
Cardon and Associates offers the finest senior living options tailored to your loved one's needs. Reservations are now being accepted for new apartments at Copper Trace in Westfield. Visit cardon.com.
Expressing anger or resentment toward unsupportive siblings can cause unmendable rifts in relationships. Don't try to control everyone else. You can only control yourself. The success of your caregiving journey does not rest on others. So enjoy the time with your loved one. This is your special time with them. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joy's House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access a library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
Pat Sullivan here for the Michaelis Corporation, talking with Richard Michaelis about basements and foundations. Richard, what are some of the signs that a homeowner should watch out for to spot potential foundation or basement problems?
If you see cracks or bowing in your basement walls, uneven floors, or cracked bricks, these could indicate foundation issues. And keep in mind, if it's a significant foundation problem, it will only worsen over time. If you notice water in your basement, visible mold, damp walls, or musty odors, it could be a sign of a foundation issue or a waterproofing problem.
How can homeowners know for sure if there's a real problem?
By calling Michaelis for a free inspection. We're a local family-owned and operated company with 39-plus years of experience. If repairs are needed, we offer a lifetime warranty and 0% down on foundation and basement repairs. You see our work before we see your money.
Foundations, basements, and crawl spaces. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call or text 844-FIXED-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Oh, Kev. The backing track to one of the greatest scenes of movie history. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, yeah, that's strong. That's a strong reference.
I've only seen that movie like once.
By the way, some guy sent me an email, and I'm not going to say his name or read it on the air, because he didn't want it read on the air or his name said, and I always respect that if people say this. We talk, by the way, it's Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Ethan's in for Casey today. We were talking yesterday about Trump at that rally, talking about Arnold Palmer's manhood. And this person was just up in arms. I think I read you the email, didn't I?
Yeah, he was furious.
He was just irate.
What was he furious about?
I guess that we addressed the topic, because my statement was this. All Trump said was, because he was in Arnold Palmer's hometown or right outside of it, very close, in Pennsylvania. And he said, Arnold Palmer was a great American. Arnold Palmer was a great guy. You should be very proud to be from the same hometown as Arnold Palmer. You should be very proud that, you share an identity with one of the great Americans and great athletes. And hey, the guy, and then he, morphed into some story about Arnold Palmer having a
big schlong.
I don't know if he got well. I would not have described it like that, Ethan, but he's very, very well endowed. And look, okay, is that a little strange?
Yes, it's very strange.
But my point was...
But Trump is strange.
Well, all I said was, if at some point Indiana becomes a swing state many, many years from now, and somebody's doing a campaign rally in Brownsburg, Indiana, and the candidate gets up there and says, you people should be very proud to be from the same hometown as Rob Kendall. He was a great Hoosier. He advocated for great public policy. He was a great entertainer. He meant a lot to a lot of people, and he was very well endowed. I can assure you my estate... Well, no, I'm directing my estate to not be upset and say thanks for doing that, as would every man would do that, right, Ethan? I don't think there's anything. I don't think I'm taking a huge leap here to say that every man would be like.
I do not want other men bragging about my manhood. That's not what I would call an
what do you want them to say? It was tiny? I mean,
I don't want.
I mean, what a compliment. You're a great American. You meant a lot to a lot of people. And hey, the guy,
you're packed. You got a big schlong.
But this person was outraged. They said it was totally inappropriate for me to be discussing this. And I said, it was a mainstream national news story. What am I supposed to do? Act like it didn't happen?
Yeah, I mean, look, and that's the power of Donald Trump. He brings the oddest of things into public conversation.
And what am I supposed to do? Not offer my opinion on what he actually said? That's what we do here. We give opinions.
I totally agree. The conversation is not off limits.
This person was just outraged about this, and anyway, I just wanted to see, did I do something wrong? You're saying no, I did not do anything wrong.
No.
Okay.
You're fine. This show is the vehicle by which we address those kinds of stories.
Exactly, right? And what am I supposed to do? Not to offer my opinion on what I think was said? I mean, I don't think there was anything, nor do 95% of men. As do 95% of men. All right, Ethan, I have terrible news for you. Because you've clarified you are voting for Trump.
I am. I will be voting for Trump.
I have horrible news for you, and that is that you apparently are a racist.
I knew it.
You are a racist.
Well, that's been true since at least the 90s, Rob. They've been saying that forever.
At least apparently, according to one Ball State professor. Mike Hicks. Do you know this guy? Have you heard of this guy? No, this guy is, he's always offering opinions. I've never seen a guy offer more opinions and get less instituted off of those opinions, but that is Mike Hicks. In all sorts of publications, this guy, big leftist, he's always offering publications.
Isn't he on the Indy Star, The Economist?
He is, yes.
He
is, yes. He's all over the place. And
I think I saw this tweet that you're getting ready to talk about.
So he retweeted, and by the way, if you send your kid to Ball State, this is the sort of person who is molding their minds if you send them to Ball State. And as far as I have seen, he has not apologized for this. He's not backtracked out of this. So apparently he stands behind it, and I've not seen anything from Ball State condemning this. So apparently they stand behind this as well. So he's retweeting some woman by the name of Pam Keith. Don't know who she is. Doesn't matter. It's not relevant to the purpose of this conversation. But she tweeted this. I gather she lives in Florida because it has FL after her name.
Yeah.
At Pam Keith FL. I am learning while I knock on doors that when people tell me they are voting for Trump because of the economy, they are really telling me they are voting for Trump because of white supremacy. And then it goes on to a thread about, I guess, conversations that she has with people at the doors. And then her determination was the fact that if you are voting for Trump, you're voting because of white supremacy. So that was the tweet that emanated this retweet that we're about to talk about. Okay, so no doubt there, right, that if you woman is saying you are a racist, you are a white supremacist if you're voting for Donald Trump. A reasonable person would come to that conclusion, right?
Yep.
Okay, so then this Michael Hicks guy, who is a professor at Ball State, economist, Ball State, quote, retweets it, and here's what he says. This is the type of tweet that used to infuriate me. It seems so simplistic, judgmental, and unforgiving. But having experienced it so often, I see its truth.
So what does he say to people like, what's that, the AB? That,
Antonio Brown, who's black. Yes, very black. Antonio Brown is very black.
What does he say to that?
Oh, that would be a great question. What does he say to the millions of black people who are clearly going to vote for Donald Trump?
What does he say to people like Jerry?
Lopez, yes, Jerry Lopez, who yes, also not white. But you have a professor at Ball State.
Oh, my Lord.
An economist who is in all of these newspapers. Indy Star, I think he writes, he's been, Abdul has him on. How is no one condemning the fact that this guy says he agrees that if you're voting for Donald Trump, you are a white supremacist?
The contempt that the left carries for the average American is nearly unfathomable. And just think, Rob, we went from a country that voted overwhelmingly to elect a black president twice in a row to now suddenly all of these same people, and many of those people who are voting for Donald Trump, also Barack Obama voters. Shocking, I know. Many of those same people are now voting for Donald Trump, and you're going to say that those people are white supremacists and racists.
If you're sending your kid to Ball State, and your kid is a Trump supporter and he finds out about this, how could you possibly think you'd get a fair shot? How is Ball State okay with a guy who not only works for them, but also is in all of these newspapers and publications and radio broadcasts and everything else? And he's out there representing you, saying that he believes that if you're voting for Trump, it's because of white supremacy.
Yeah. If you criticize the economy, you're lying. Isn't that so disingenuous?
Every single person who's giving money to Ball State should demand an answer on this. Every single person should be, if you have given money to Ball State, if you've gone to Ball State, if your kid goes to Ball State, calling them, demanding why they're okay with this, why they're not demanding that this guy, there's no retraction, there's no, that I've seen, maybe it exists, maybe I haven't seen it, somebody can direct me to it. It's still up.
This is almost as bad as that Kansas State University professor who said that men who don't want to vote for Kamala should be shot.
Yeah. I mean, this is Ball State. If you send your kid to Ball State, these are the people educating your kids. Choose wisely. It's Kendall and Casey Show.
The victims of Hurricane Helene need our help. Go to disaster.salvationarmyusa.org. That's disaster.salvationarmyusa.org. From the Salvation Army and WIBC.
Hoosiers need a fighter to protect our jobs and our values. I'm Todd Rokita, your Attorney General. I fight for you, and together we win. Suing Biden because he's opened the border to illegals who are killing us, harming our kids, and driving up our taxes. Stopping federal bureaucrats who kill jobs and jack up our electricity prices with their failed Green New Deal that does nothing for our air and water. Keeping criminals behind bars where they belong. Recovering millions of dollars from welfare theft, fraud, and from opioid drug manufacturers, all to protect your health and your tax dollars. Creating the Parents' Bill of Rights so you can protect our kids from those trying to corrupt them while you're at work. Successfully keeping boys from competing in girls' sports and defending, of course, our pro-life values. And the Gun Owners' Bill of Rights so you can defend yourself and your family. I'm Todd Rokita, and with your vote this November, we'll keep fighting and winning together. Paid for by the Todd Rokita Election Committee.
Piece of gold, peace of mind. That's why so many concerned Americans are adding gold to their portfolios. At American Bullion, we pioneered a fast and secure gold IRA process and can help you learn about and protect your current IRA or old 401k with the proven value of gold and silver. With dangerously rising unrest around the world, volatility in the economy, and upcoming elections, it's more critical than ever to consider protecting your portfolio with a gold IRA rollover. At American Bullion, our experienced team is here to guide you from A to Z. We do all the heavy lifting so you don't have to. Don't wait. Make the call. Protect your IRA or old 401k with our hassle-free and tax-free process. Call American Bullion today for your free gold guide and learn about all your options. Call 800-456-7475. That's 800-456-7475. 800-456-7475.
Mortgage rates are down and creating more active buyers and sellers. If you've been waiting, now is a great time to sell your home before more homes flood the market, driving down prices. Maximize your home sale now with the market expert who delivers maximum money in less time, Mark Dietl. Maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed-upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Dee and Andrew in Noblesville had to say about working with Mark Dietl. We were done with the rat race and ready to live the dream of buying a camper and traveling west. We needed top cash from our home to make the dream work. Thankfully, we hired Mark Dietl, who delivered big time. Our home sold for our asking price in 4 days on the market. Call the local Indianapolis agent I trust and recommend and the agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietl at 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietl.com. That's Mark, Dietel.com. Tell him Rob sent you.
Cybersecurity Awareness Month is in full swing, and LifeLock is here to spotlight the threat of phishing. Those sneaky scams designed to trick you into revealing your personal information. While staying alert is important, true protection goes beyond just awareness. That's where LifeLock steps in with comprehensive protection. LifeLock doesn't just warn you about suspicious activity. LifeLock monitors your personal info and resolves identity theft issues if they arise. Take control of your security. Start your 30-day free trial at lifelock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Truck drivers, are you tired of missing out on valuable time at home? At Midwest Logistics Systems, you can find a local dedicated job that gets you home every day. Plus, we offer predictable Monday through Friday schedules with occasional Saturdays. As an MLS driver, you'll haul 100% no-touch freight, earn performance and safety bonuses, and have access to full benefits. Don't wait. Upgrade your driving job today. Search jobs and apply now at MidwestLogisticsSystems.com. That's MidwestLogisticsSystems.com.
Looking for a fun, friendly alternative to spooky neighborhood trick-or-treating? Join us for Trunk or Treat. At Life Church, we're creating a safe, welcoming space for families. Enjoy a night filled with decorated trunks, tasty treats, games, and community fun, all without the fright. Dress up in your favorite costumes and make lasting memories with friends and neighbors in a cheerful atmosphere. This year, skip the scary and join us for a night of laughter and joy instead. Go to lifechurchin.com for times and locations.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra is making its way back to Gamebridge Fieldhouse on December 19th with an all-new show, The Lost Christmas Eve Tour. For tickets and more information, head to WIBC.com.
So the left in Indiana is trying to throw 3 Supreme Court justices off the bench.
Good luck.
Because they're mad about how they voted when it came to Indiana's abortion ban. It's Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC. Ethan, one of the things our show does better than anybody else is we not only educate, but we also inform. And we say that we have really 2 goals on here. Our goal is to, number 1, to educate you. Number 2 is entertain you. And if we do both of those well, you will likely have the same views that we do. It's a math equation, right? And so this will be the education portion of your show, where you're probably not going to hear this on other radio stations. On your ballot this year, you have the ability to choose, you the voter, whether or not to retain 3 Supreme Court justices. So the way our Supreme Court works in Indiana, there are 5 members. They are appointed by the governor, but he chooses from three options who are given to him by a commission. There's a commission on judges. They present 3 people, and I think the governor can actually decline based on the 3, but generally will choose between the 3 and then make the appointment. So if someone retires, passes away, whatever. So a little bit different than how the Supreme Court nationally is done. And then there's a 2-year window after they're appointed that then they come back up in front of the people. The people vote to retain them or not, and then it's every 10 years after that you vote whether or not to retain these Supreme Court justices. So there are 3 Supreme Court justices of the 5 who are up this year, including the Chief Justice Loretta Rush. And all you vote on is yes or no on each of these justices. They're not as a block. You vote on them individually, so you could theoretically choose to keep one and not the other 2.
Very straightforward.
They're almost always voted to be retained because most times there's very little actual controversy. However, due to a plethora of big cases that have made their way to the Supreme Court, there are a lot of people now paying attention to them primarily the abortion law in Indiana, which was upheld. However, there's also the John Rust case, which was decided 3-2, which was very controversial, where the Supreme Court overruled the lower court's ruling and allowed this complete crap.
That's pretty rotten.
Crap election law, which basically says unless you vote in two primaries in a county or a county party chair likes you, that then the Republicans or Democrats can keep you off the ballot. And then there was also the executive powers law, which the state legislature passed a law to try to rein in Holcomb's executive authority. He challenged it to the Supreme Court. They, in a 5-0 vote, sided with Holcomb over the General Assembly. So the point is, this is actually garnering some media attention this time because there are a bevy of issues by which there are pockets of people who may be mad at the Supreme Court justices for a variety of reasons and may not vote to retain them. Now, the three that are up is the Chief Justice Loretta Rush, Justice Mark Massa, and Justice Derek Bolter. So, and the Capitol Chronicle has a big article about this. It does spark a broader conversation. By what standard, or does the public at large even know what the standard should be to decide if somebody is a good judge or not?
I think their votes all count the same ultimately.
Right?
Whether they're informed or not, we've chosen, that's the system that we have decided. On a matter of principle, generally speaking, I vote not to retain.
Yeah. You've been there 10 years. That's quite a while.
I vote not to retain justices or other elected officials because I think rotation in office is a vital part of our republic.
Yeah, and this does go to the merit though of lifetime appointments to the federal judiciary, because clearly these judges, there are people who are trying to hold these judges accountable based on politics, because the Rust thing obviously is a highly politically charged thing. The abortion is a supercharged political thing, and the executive authority of the governor is also angered a lot of people. And while justices are almost always retained, and I think these judges probably will be as well, because sometimes pockets are loud, but they're not exactly influential, you could theoretically see judges taken out. Now, let's face it, Braun is probably going to be the governor, which means he would then get 3 appointments. It's not like if you wipe these people out that suddenly, unless McCormick wins, you're going to get a bunch of super liberal judges. Although that's the risk you run, is if you're a Republican who's mad about the way these judges have ruled. But it does give merit to what we've talked about at the federal level in these lifetime appointments, and we're hearing all these things about, we've got to reform the Supreme Court. We got to put limits on this or that. There is no politics in play at this, or there doesn't have to be. I mean, a judge can clearly choose to be political if he or she wants to be. But once you have a lifetime appointment, you never have to worry about, will indeed I actually be retained by the voters? Am I actually accountable to the voters? Because let's face it, the average person has no idea by what standard you should judge someone who is a appeals court judge or a Supreme Court justice. They have no idea whether they're doing a good job or not. They're just taking a single issue and they're pissed off about that, and they're going to take it out on that person.
Now, I would be totally open to entertain term limits on the Supreme Court as long as term limits for the Congress and the Senate are baked right in there.
Yeah, they don't want no part of that, do they?
No.
You know, it's when the conversation shifts there to say, okay, you guys go first. Whoa. We don't want everybody to get crazy.
And that's why you'd have to do it all at the same time. You all get limited.
Yeah, so that's going to be on your ballot this fall. If you've already voted and you didn't know what it was, sorry about you, but that's what you'll be voting on, whether to retain those 3 justices to the state Supreme Court. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Donnie Burgess is going to join us. We'll have an update on everything Delphi. Man, I'll tell you what, it is just getting wild with Delphi. We'll get up to date on it. Ethan's in for Casey, 93 WIBC.
Jennifer McCormick couldn't name a single thing she disagreed with Hillary Clinton on. That's because, just like Hillary, McCormick backed failed liberal policies. She endorsed Bidenomics, said she'd be honored to serve in Biden's administration. She opposed school choice, and she even supports biological boys playing girls' sports.
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
I did vote for Hillary Clinton. She had some great, world foreign policy experience. So, I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
It gets worse. Here's what Jennifer McCormick says about Donald Trump.
I cannot get behind that. Never voted for Trump, never will vote for Trump, never was behind Trump, never will be behind Trump. I just cannot get behind a party who is behind that type of leadership. To me, it's nonsensical.
Jennifer McCormick, hopelessly liberal. Paid for by Mike Braun for Indiana.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed mold, mildew, bowing walls, or water in your basement? I hope not, but if you have, your basement is losing the war against groundwater. That's where Indiana Foundation Service comes in, a groundworks company. They can honestly assess your situation and create a plan to waterproof your basement and stabilize your walls. Schedule your free inspection at indianafoundation.com/row.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details. At Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, we're good at insurance. But not just any insurance. We're good at...
No.
Did you forget the parking brake? Yes, you forgot the parking brake. Insurance. When the forecast calls for cheeseball-sized hail insurance. Even shouldn't have parked under that tree. Insurance. Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance and stop knocking on wood.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick. Soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors. Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max used for adults only.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Coming up in 2 minutes, what was shown to the jury in the Delphi murders trial on Monday. Plus, this Democratic candidate for Senate has a few things to talk about when it comes to inflation. And also, John Herrick breaks down some of the budgets passed by some local cities. I'm Kurt Darling. That and more coming up from the Technology Recyclers Studios after Fox News. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 10 o'clock.
He keeps trying to sway people who traditionally vote Democrat. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Former President Trump's in Miami this morning for an event next hour with Latino leaders.
The former president is really trying to court not just Hispanic voters, but really all minority voters.
Fox's Aisha Hasni in Miami.
This new Suffolk University poll out shows that Trump is actually now leading Harris amongst Latino voters in a head-to-head. He's trailing Harris amongst black voters, but put it in perspective here, he actually got 8% to President Biden's 91% in 2020, so he's doing a whole lot better this year.
Now, that survey shows that Vice President Harris's support among likely black voters is down to 72%. The former president will be holding a rally in North Carolina after 3 events there yesterday. That'll be later today as early in-person voting starts in 4 more states, including Wisconsin, where Vice President Harris was last night.
We love our country, and we believe in the foundational principles that are at stake in this election.
Calling the former president increasingly unstable. She also campaigned in Michigan and Pennsylvania. The former president posted on Truth Social this morning, "We must find the leaker who let American intelligence get out," that appears to detail Israel's plan to retaliate against Iran's missile attack earlier this month.
So the biggest unknown right now is whether the leak of this classified intelligence in any way compromises Israel's reprisal attack plans. The FBI is stepping in to launch an investigation, potentially criminal investigation here in the United States.
Fox's Jillian Turner at the State Department.
Secretary of State Blinken is on the ground in Jerusalem at this moment. He is meeting one-on-one with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It's a bit of of a frantic effort on the part of the U.S. administration to try and re-jumpstart those ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas.
It's unclear who's in charge of Hamas days after Israel killed the group's leader. Meanwhile, Iran's president's in Russia for 3 days of talks with the leaders of China, India, and Turkey, all trying to counter American influence in the world. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
What was shown to the jury? Radar is clear. It's 61 and sunny downtown. I'm Kurt Darling for Moss Roofing. Here's what's trending at 10:02. Testimony continuing today in the Delphi murders trial. On Monday, photos were shown to the jury of the crime scene, which included the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German. The pictures detailing their slit throats and bloodied bodies near the Monon High Bridge. Prosecutors will call more witnesses today as they continue to try and pin the murders on Richard Allen, who says he's innocent. The Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate this election is Valerie McRae, who says the issue of inflation has been embellished.
Inflation has not been an issue here in the United States. It feels that way, but according with the rest of the countries, we're very, very low on that.
She tells All Indiana Politics she wants to make sure that the rich pay their fair share in trying to tamp down the national debt. The city of Beech Grove passed its 2025 budget Monday night. John Herrick reports.
The Beech Grove mayor, James Kaufman, says it's $19 million and it had bipartisan support. In it, all city employees will get a pay boost of 3% to account for cost of living increases. He says it also ensures that Beech Grove police officers continue to remain at the higher end of the pay scale for law enforcement in Marion County. Kaufman also promises that important roads in the city will be updated. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Carmel also passing its 2025 budget last night, $233 million, with police and fire getting significant increases in funding. A Little League umpire is admitting to taking pictures of young boys in the bathroom at a youth ballpark in Warwick County. Stephen Custer will spend the next 2 years in prison for child sex crimes. Number 12 Notre Dame has number 24 Navy on Saturday.
They're putting up big numbers offensively. Their offensive scheme is enhanced from what we saw last year as we prepared for them last season. They've really done a great job of enhancing what they do offensively.
Head coach Marcus Freeman, the Irish, have won 5 in a row. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
It's starting to be fall in Indiana, the perfect time to tackle home projects you've been putting off before winter arrives. With Moss Roofing by your side, you don't have to do it alone. They're ready to assist with your roofing and siding needs, ensuring your home is safe and ready for the holidays. Let Moss Roofing, M-O-S-S, mossroofing.com, give your home a serious glow-up with premium James Hardy siding, tough enough to face Indiana's wild weather and stylish enough to turn heads on your block. And the best part, their free inspections come with a 3D design preview so you could see your home's stunning makeover before the work begins. Contact Moss Roofing for a job done right every single time at Moss Roofing, M-O-S-S, mossroofing.com, or call 317-747-3665. Moss Roofing, 317-747-3665. That's 747-3665. Or online at Moss, M-O-S-S, mossroofing.com. And don't forget, tell them Tony Katz sent you.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, your American Standard air dealer in Hendricks County.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Just one man's opinion, but from what I've seen so far, they got nothing on Richard Allen. They got nothing, and it seems like they're trying to convict an innocent man. But let's talk to an expert. 93 WIBC. It is the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Ethan Hatcher's in for Casey. And joining us now in the WIBC studios, very few people know the Delphi case better than our own WIBC newsman extraordinaire, Donnie Burgess. He's been in the courtroom. He joins us now. All right, Donnie, so you tweeted something the other day that I want to start with. You stood right next to Richard Allen the opening day of the trial, right?
Yes, Richard Allen walked in the courtroom, and it almost caught me off guard by how casually he walked in. No shackles, well-dressed. There were police around him, but they weren't, No hand on shoulder, no hand around the arm. He just walked in, and Richard Allen is right there, standing within arm's reach of me, and his family is right behind me. His wife was sitting right behind my left shoulder.
What is that moment like? I mean, this is the guy, right? I mean, whether he did it or didn't do it, this is the guy, and you're right. I mean, I almost think like with famous people or infamous people or whatever, however you want to describe it, they're almost like holograms, right? When you see them on the news, like you lose track of the fact they're a real human, and that guy is right there next to you.
Well, yeah, it was surreal. It was the first time I've seen Alan in person, and then he walked in, and I was just like, it became that much more real. But it also, for a case that's been so Hollywoodized over the last several years, it just brought it all back down to reality. It was like, okay, business, it's time to get to business. He's here. He's in the room. Defense is right in front of me, his attorneys. His wife sitting right behind me. Families are there. Jury's here. Everyone's here. Now it's time to get to business. So it was very quickly, let's get the ball rolling.
I think you can, give me 1 second, Ethan, then you can pop in. I think you can tell a lot from people based on body language, like how they carry themselves by looking at them. Now, not always, of course, and people can fool people, but let's face it, this guy is not Ted Bundy, right? He's not John Wayne Gacy. He's not a star of stage and screen. He's not O.J. Simpson. I think you kind of get the guy. Looking at this dude, man, it's like, ooh, that's a big stretch to think he pulled this off. You've been there. What say you?
I watched his body language. I stared at him probably for an uncomfortable amount of time, just taking notes. I stared at Alan so long that he eventually locked eyes with me, and we didn't break contact. I was thinking, I'm not going to break contact first. He's going to have to look away first. Yeah. Alan appeared very anxious, of course, because his life is on the line right now.
Right.
But he was very focused. He went through pages and pages of notes, very much focused, constantly in communication with his attorneys. If I were to step back and just try and give you gut feeling, again, I told you off air, Ethan and I have talked about this on his show. I've told several people, Richard Allen is notably small.
He's tiny.
He's
That's
an
coming from me,
incredibly small man. And that is going to be difficult for the prosecution to present to the jury, considering the two sketches that have been attached to this case for several years are already completely different.
Yeah.
And then the defense plans to call their players to say, this is who I saw, it doesn't match Richard Allen. And Allen being so incredibly small, and it's not in a demeaning way, but I can't think of another way to put this other than Richard Allen would not be allowed on most roller coasters in the United States.
Unbelievable.
He's a living Tom Thumb.
So it's going to be, again, reasonable doubt. The defense hit on that. Reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And the judge, she hammered on, jury, if you have two thoughts in your mind, if you're leaning different ways, you must side with the side of innocence. If you feel there's reasonable doubt, you must side with innocence. It is going to be... It
must have pained her to say that, given how she's totally screwed this guy throughout the whole process. Ethan, go ahead.
So, yes, it's in summation, it's going to be difficult to prove that this was the individual.
Well, we've hit upon the point that I wanted to hit on, which is that Richard Allen himself, according to Donnie, and I haven't seen him in person, Donnie has, but is notably small. And it's not just the witness testimony that we have. It's not just the sketches that we have. Has everybody forgotten about the video? The infamous down the hill video? You should be able to roughly ascertain the size of the suspect in that video based on the proportion of other objects that are contained in the surrounding area. Correct. So very quickly, you should be able to attain a rough estimate of the height of the suspect. And if it's not matching up with this notably small man, what are we doing here? Well, it was also noted in testimony that just happened today, we were talking about off air, no DNA evidence tying Richard Allen to the scene at all that they're aware of.
So yeah, what we can touch on right now is that, you brought up you could ascertain from those photos, but what was apparent yesterday, and it really has been for several years, but what was apparent yesterday was just the lack of comprehensive, thorough, step-by-step police work. And State Police Sergeant Jason Page testified to, I am unaware of any DNA at the crime scene matching Richard Allen.
How's that possible?
After 2 years.
Now, here's the thing.
How could the guy have pulled the crime off and there's no DNA?
Now, here's the thing. I'm going to stand by this until we get to the very end. There's still 3.5 weeks left. There could be someone takes a stand and proves everyone wrong. But that was testified to by the man who took the pictures of the bodies. He was there. And also, I can't remember. There was several police officers and crime scene investigators that testified yesterday. But the things that came out, the sticks found at the crime scene with blood on them, they were left there for 3 weeks. They didn't find them of any evidence noteworthiness. And then they went back for it and collected them 3 weeks later. They are unaware if any rape kits were ever used to test on the girls. They're unaware of that. And so we're starting to run into some issues.
Well,
and Rob's doing that thing where he starts rocking and getting worked up.
You and I have said this because you've been on with us for years now talking about this. We kept saying at some point there has to be some silver bullet that they just have been holding back.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you have put it out there in your opening statement? We have this, and no matter what they say, they can't explain this. And this whole trial, don't get your mind off this because this cannot be refuted. They haven't produced any of that. How do this guy even get to trial with what they've brought so far?
Well, it comes back to the bullet. It comes back to the bullet, which was found face down, implanted into the dirt a couple feet away from the bodies. And police also testified yesterday to, well, there was a picture taken of the bullet there in the ground, and we're not sure about any more pictures or examination afterwards. And then the defense, now again, this was their opening statement on Friday. They have to actually prove this in court. But what Allen's attorney said Friday during their opening statement was, Richard Allen, this was a .40 caliber bullet that was cycled through a gun that they claim matches the markings of Allen's gun. Problem that the defense put forth. 40 caliber bullets were carried by law enforcement officers on scene. There's a man who owns a property nearby the crime scene. You can see his patio from the crime scene. And he had a gun that takes 40 caliber bullets, and police have never been able to exclude his gun. So we're getting further into what is being put against Richard Allen.
You've been just one second, and then you hop in. You've been very fair through all this. I kind of know some of your opinion on this. I don't think most of the time they come off on air. Is it hard for you to sit there and watch this and see that? They got nothing. They've got nothing that ties this guy to this crime scene after 7 years, and they have gone through this, and they have nothing. And it's like they've been playing a football game where the refs have been playing for one team. They've even had the judge completely on their side on almost every major ruling. And what are we doing here?
The prosecutor leaned on, and he leaned on in his 20-minute brief opening statement.
That's it?
Yes.
20 minutes?
The defense had about an hour 15-ish. The prosecution said Richard Allen used fear and power through his gun to control the girls. He was going to sexually assault them, but he didn't because he was interrupted. He was spooked by something nearby, and so he marched the girls across Deer Creek into the woods, slit their throats with a box cutter, and then left. And for 7 years, he went home. And then also the confessions in prison, we're going to use that. That's the whole case, pretty much, that we know of so far. And I don't know. It's I sat there in the courtroom, and I have since in the days that have, passed, and court is in session right now. It's been in session for about an hour, 15 minutes. I will say, to keep things right down the middle, the prosecution, I believe at this point, has an uphill battle to get beyond the reasonable doubt and try and prove that this is the man.
This is literally insane. How would they be able to determine with any degree of certitude at all whether or not the girls were sexually assaulted, whether or not Richard Allen chose or not chose to engage in that activity if they didn't even perform a rape kit on the girls? How's the prosecution attempting to tie that .40 caliber bullet with the throats that were slit? I don't think you can slit throats with unspent bullet casings.
And then you want to go back to, and again, the defense has to prove everything they say. Their opening statement was a promise that we will prove everything we say. they expanded upon the strands of hair found wrapped around the fingers of Abigail Williams. And in jury selection, they said, hey, there's strands of hair, and then they kind of left it at that. During opening statements, they busted open the door. They said these were female strands of hair wrapped around Abigail Williams' hand, root and all. And the female members of Liberty German's family so far have testified in court that they were asked, and they have given DNA so far within the last week and a half, because they are trying to figure out whose female hairs, root and all, wrapped around one of the victims' hands. Who does that belong to?
Look, I think it's dangerous to do the conspiracy theory stuff because these two little girls really did die and their families have been gutted apart. But when you hear all of this stuff and then you hear something like this, what if they're right about the Odinism thing?
Yeah.
Like what logical conclusion do you go to that the investigation could have been done this poorly, that there's no evidence, that you've got the stuff like Donnie's talking about? By the way, you said the sketch may actually come in though, right?
Yeah, so we should clarify. So the two sketches you've seen for years that have been literally and figuratively the posters for this case since 2017.
They don't match, by the way.
They don't match whatsoever. The prosecution did not. They asked for that to the comment on those sketches from witnesses in court to not be allowed. They don't want witnesses in court to try and say, hey, you think it's that guy over there? They don't want that. They want it left up to the jury.
So you can't bring one of your witnesses up and say, is that Mr. Allen?
That is my understanding,
right, okay.
yes. And so the defense countered that yesterday with apparently the Down the Hill video also includes some sort of audio from one of the girls. And that is going to be played at some point during this trial. And so the defense countered with, we don't want any witnesses commenting on what they think is being said in that video. Leave it up to the jury. So that was kind of their Uno reverse card on that end.
And the judge agreed?
We don't know the ruling yet on that.
But you're saying there is a way those sketches are going to come in.
I believe there is a way that they can introduce those sketches, yes.
Wow.
As far as the Odinism connection that you mentioned earlier, Rob, what sticks out to me the most is that some of the defense information that has been built up about Odinism prior to the judge ruling that they can't bring it into the trial was based off of state evidence, states' interviews with professors who made the connection and said, yes, this is my area of expertise, and yes, this looks like a ritual killing from my point of view. And then the defense was not allowed to use state evidence.
This whole thing is crazy.
And I will say that they can attempt to try and bring some of that up. They have to sidebar with the judge and try and convince her one more time. The jury will have to leave the room.
10th time's a charm, right, Donnie?
So there again, a lot of things are still on the table, which is what makes this what makes this trial. You cannot stop paying attention until the very end.
You are doing unbelievable work with this. We'll have you back later this week. One of the best in the business, especially when it comes to this Delphi thing. Donnie Burgess, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so normally we do True Crime Tuesday next. We're going to move that to 10:30. Aphrodite Jones will be with us. When we come back, Denny Smith is going to join us. Denny Smith spent much of his life as a plumber and owning a plumbing business. We're going to find out what in the world is going on with our bathrooms here and why they keep not working. It's Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
Sadly, people don't carry cash anymore.
I don't carry cash. No. It's better, especially if you live in a metropolitan area, that you don't have to carry cash.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Well, men carry cash, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, stop it.
So how much cash do you have on you right now?
Nothing. None. No. Don't need it. I'm digital, man. Man.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
October is a critical time to check your home's windows. If yours are cracked or leaking and won't open or stay open, then it's time to call the pros at Window Nation. Right now, for every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 windows free, plus 0 down, 0 interest, and no payments for 24 months. That's right, you heard me. 0 down, 0 interest, and no payments for 24 months.
Proven quality and service. It's no wonder thousands have trusted Window Nation. Don't miss out. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Cybersecurity Awareness Month is in full swing, and LifeLock is here to spotlight the threat of phishing. those sneaky scams designed to trick you into revealing your personal information. While staying alert is important, true protection goes beyond just awareness. That's where LifeLock steps in with comprehensive protection. LifeLock doesn't just warn you about suspicious activity. LifeLock monitors your personal info and resolves identity theft issues if they arise. Take control of your security. Start your 30-day free trial at lifelock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Advent is now open in Indianapolis and Avon. Find out more at adventknows.com.
Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
When you're hiring for your business, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology makes finding qualified candidates for your job easy. This made us wonder, what if the rest of the world was as easy as ZipRecruiter? Math problems wouldn't be so problematic.
K equals 42.
Escape rooms? Elementary. And summiting Everest would be a walk in the park. In the meantime, if you want to make your hiring easier, use ZipRecruiter. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Simple. So, see what the world is like when ZipRecruiter does the hard work of hiring for you. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for 1951 cabinetry. Visit Drexel's Kitchen and Bath Design Centers at 146th and River Road, North Shadeland, or DrexelIN.com.
The bathrooms, the men's bathroom here at WIBC has stopped working again. And I've had enough of this. I'm going to get to the bottom of what's going on. I mean, this is years now. Years this has been happening. And this is the latest in the saga. And Carl, Tony's producer, by the way, it's Kendall Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Ethan Hatcher from Saturday Night on the Circle in for Casey. Carl, Tony's producer, said, hey, remember Denny Smith, the fabulous host of the Home and Garden Show, co-host of the Home and Garden Show, also first day, Sundays on WIBC. Remember, he owned a plumbing company for years, and I said, that's a fabulous idea, Carl. All right, so Denny Smith joins us now. Denny, have you done plumbing in a building the size of Emma's, like a 7-story building like this?
Yes, I have.
Can you tell me why in the world they cannot fix the toilets on the 4th floor here at the Emma's Communications building?
This is just a guess, but I think it's a pressure fluctuation throughout the building. In a high-rise building of 7 floors or more, and I think the Emma's building is 7 floors.
Yeah.
Pressure fluctuations, if you don't have the right booster pumps set up, either a duplex or a triplex system set up so that you can maintain water pressure, certain floors are going to have low water pressure and certain floors are going to have high water pressure. And so if you complicate that with a flush valve like a Zern, which I think that those are Zern valves in our restroom there on the 4th floor. It could be a Sloan, it could be Toto, but the whole idea is that you want a consistency of pressure. And if you go and you look on the diagrams for any of the flush valves, they'll say a minimum pressure of 25 psi.
So wait, Denny, I don't mean to cut you off here, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. That there's not enough water pressure, like that's the issue, is water, our toilets are not...
Now, wait a minute. I'm not a politician. You asked me what I thought the root of the problem was, and I think it's a pressure problem.
But I'm saying water pressure. Is it water pressure?
Water pressure,
yes.
Right, but here's the problem. 7 floors up, that you're not going to get as much pressure if your pumps are not working properly. So you have multi-floor pumps, maybe at the 2nd floor, maybe at the 4th floor. That's a duplex system, and then it pushes it up to the 7th floor. But the problem is, with fluctuations, you may be expecting 1.6 gallons through your flush valve, but if the pressure's too low, you might get a lot less than that. And then, I don't mean any derogatory comments about any serviceman, but if the jackasses have not put in the... But if they have not put in the right cartridges, a urinal flush valve is designed to flush on 1/8 of a gallon. That's like an eighth of a gallon is like 2 cups of
Okay,
water.
let me stop you real quick. Denny Smith is our guest, obviously the host of the Home and Garden Show, host of First Day on WIBC, spent many years owning a plumbing company. So when I flush the toilet, there's an eighth of a gallon of water going through there. Is that what you're saying?
If it's a urinal.
Yeah.
Now, if you sit down on the big boy pot behind the magic wall there, that's 1.6 gallons. Now, to put this in perspective, I know I blame this all on the Californians. Californians, we used to have 3.5 gallons to flush a toilet, and there was nothing, not Sasquatch, nobody that 3.5 gallons would not clear a toilet on. Okay, now it's 1.6 gallons because of the stupid Californians and the way they do things.
Shots
and this
fired.
has been in place for 25 years. We need more water to flush, and if you've got low water pressure, the flush length is too short. And so a guy's dashing his doodle real quick, and he's putting out more water than the flush valve.
Okay, so I don't mean to get too graphic here, but I have noticed over time it seems like there is less water in the toilets in question. That is why. That you're telling me that is some sort of environmental people thing.
Oh yeah, that's a guess. Well, by law now they've taken it through EPA and everything else. You're only allowed 1.6 gallons for toilets, and it only. And I got to go back on this. I think you get 1 pint for a urinal, which is that's what it is. It's 0.125 gallons for a urinal. So it could be anything, but I think the flush length is too short. We're not getting enough water. Now I will say this: I got my master plumber's license in 1971, and in 1971 to today, I have never seen a bathroom with a urinal torn off the wall and a plastic sheet that says under repair. And you look at that, you say, no kidding, it's under repair. But I have never seen a urinal removed from a wall for a week and then bring it back. Like, I've just not seen it. So I don't know what's going on in the building.
Okay,
I'm ready to go to the women's.
Well, okay, so we gotta solve this though. So we gotta take something to Smulyan. In the King's English, what do we take to Mr. Smulyan to say, here's what you need to do to fix this problem for us?
All right. First of all, I would check all of the flush valves to make sure that the cartridges are for urinals or for toilets. If the flush length is too long, there could be a breakage in the diaphragm of the flush valve. If it's too short, it just means that the water pressure is too low, or it could be a bad cartridge. But they need to get a plumber in there, and not a maintenance man, but a plumber in there who can do multi-floor pressure checks to make sure that the PSI, it's a high-rise building any way you look at it. Every floor should have relatively the same pressure, plus or minus 5 PSI. And if it's not above 25 PSI, you're going to get short flushes and you're going to get stoppages, and and it builds up. In a urinal, you think that you don't get stoppages in a urinal because it's all liquid. You wouldn't believe what men put down urinals. And it's just kind of gross, quite frankly. But you need more water.
Here's my question for you, Denny. Is this something that we could fix by adding a couple vents up past the 7th floor, so that way we get more airflow and all of the crap water can successfully descend 4 stories down to the main sewer line?
I think the modern venting protocols, Ethan, are such that is not necessary in any way. This is a amount of water going into the drain from the flush valve, and you got to check your pressure first. So it could be a building problem. Remember, it's a high-rise building. The pressure at the first floor is going to be a lot different from the top floor. Now, if they have a water reservoir on the top and they can drop it down from the top, but I don't think that's how they do it. I think they're using booster pumps. And something's wrong there. Of course, I'm talking to the jury here. You know that.
Denny Smith, you are a national treasure. Every Saturday morning, one of my favorite things to do when I'm in my automobile is listen to the Home and Garden Show. And, of course, now you're part of First Day on Sundays with Terry Stacy. You are the best, my friend. Thank you so much.
Always glad to be with you guys. You take care.
True Crime Tuesday. Coming up next, Aphrodite Jones will join us. It's Kendall Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
This is Danny Reinhardt with Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. Give us a call for your heating and cooling needs. We're here to serve you. 317-745-4526.
Reinhardt is your trusted local independent American Standard Air dealer.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level. On the go.
Campaigning in the South, it's sunny and 62 downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:30. Former President Trump is at a roundtable talk in Florida to try and win over Latino voters.
This roundtable was supposed to happen back when Hurricane Milton hit, so this has been rescheduled to today. And I was talking with Congressman Carlos Jimenez about this. The former president is really trying to court not just Hispanic voters, but really all minority voters, voters that normally would have gone to the Democratic Party. This new Suffolk University poll out shows that Trump is actually now leading Harris amongst Latino voters in a head-to-head.
Fox's Aisha Hosni. Around 8 million people are getting at least another 6 months of a break on repaying their federal student loans. Those eligible are enrolled in the Biden administration's SAVE plan. The Department of Education said Monday that the enrollees will be put in an interest-free forbearance for now. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WYBC.com.
Hey, Mark Dietel is the only real estate expert I trust and recommend with the sale of my home. And how about Ray in Indianapolis? Ray needed to move in a hurry, so he was out the door into a new house, but left with the big problem of selling his old house with 2 mortgage payments fast approaching. Heard about Mark Dietel on our show, and he was the answer. He was ecstatic when Mark sold his home for the price they needed in just 2 days on the market.
Mark Dietel is the best, and what separates him from the competition is the guarantee. Mark Dietel guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. That is the Mark Dietel guarantee. You pick your move date, no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. Call Mark Dietel today, 755-4232. That's 317-755-4232, or go to markdietel.com. Mark Dietel, markdietel.com. Tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac automatic standby generator for your home from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter. Call 317-827-0808. Generator Supercenter of Indianapolis, 317-827-0808.
Eligible Hoosiers, listen up. Election Day is November 5th. This is a reminder from the Indiana Secretary of State. Make a plan to get to the polls and vote. Indiana's elections are safe, secure, and transparent. Go to indianavoters.com to find polling locations, volunteer to work at the polls, and more information for Election Day. Make your vote count this Election Day, November 5th. This message is brought to you by your Indiana Secretary of State.
At Shane Company, we make finding your perfect engagement ring fun and easy. Because let's be honest, you might feel a little stressed out. We get it. That's why we do all the hard stuff. It's our job to bring you the biggest selection of beautiful diamonds and colorful gemstones, so many amazing settings, and all the customization your heart desires. We've got your style and your price range covered, and we're here to guide you every step of the way. Come in for a warm welcome and leave with your dream ring and an experience you'll never forget. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Research shows smoking costs Indiana businesses $3.1 billion every year. It also shows that an extra $2 per pack tax on cigarettes would drastically reduce smoking, which could save lives, create jobs, and infuse the state of Indiana with hundreds of millions of dollars annually. Read the reports from the Richard M. Fairbanks Foundation at thepriceofsmoking.org and see for yourself how an extra $2 per pack tax on cigarettes can have a positive impact on Hoosiers.
Are you concerned about rising gasoline taxes? I'm Donald Rainwater, Libertarian candidate for governor. Hoosiers currently pay sales tax and excise tax on gasoline to the state. No one should pay 2 taxes for gasoline. So my plan is to abolish the gasoline excise tax in Indiana. To learn more about my plan to make Indiana government less taxing, go to rainwaterforindiana.com. My name is Donald Rainwater, and I approve this message. Paid for by Rainwater for Indiana.
Kendall and Casey present True Crime Tuesday on 93 WIBC.
It's True Crime Tuesday here on the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today, and we go back to one of our all-time favorites. She's one of the great writers and investigators when it comes to true crime, Aphrodite Jones. You know her from True Crime with Aphrodite Jones on Investigation Discovery. And we're going back in the vault to it's a re-release of one of her great books, The Embrace, a true vampire story. Aphrodite joins us now. Tell us about this incredible case.
So this book is has been re-released today. Today is the day. It was written almost 30 years ago when this crime happened. So it is a new release of the book. People do not really know this story. And in essence, what I'm going to tell you is this. In news accounts, these teenagers were considered a clan or a cult. The truth is they were no clan or cult. They were the offspring of a kid whose name is Roderick Farrell, 16 years old, who was able to convince his buddies and his little world that he was an immortal vampire.
Wow!
Right? Isn't that crazy?
How do you do that?
So here's the thing. They started off with a game called Vampire the Masquerade, which back then was, a big thing. And you role-played vampire roles. He took that to a new level. He's a psychopath. He wound up killing Heather Wendorf's parents in cold blood and took another one of his friends with him into the house. He had his friend Heather Wendorf, whose parents were killed. Two other girls picked her up in a car and took her away. They were all running away to New Orleans to be vampires together. Now, we're talking, he's 16 years old, and the other kids are 16 and 15 years old. So we're talking about little kids who are completely mixing fantasy with reality and choosing to believe that this guy can shapeshift, that he can travel across time, that he's been around for thousands of years. He named himself Visago, which is a character from that game. I mean, it's insane, Rob. Insane.
Aphrodite Jones is our guest. We're talking about the re-release of her book, The Embrace. It's an incredible story. Now these kids, as you said, start in Florida, correct?
So yes, they start. So here's the backdrop. Rod Farrell came from a split home, and one parent was in Florida, and we lived with the grandfather in Florida and the mother in Murray, Kentucky. So that's Western Kentucky. And he was able to connect while he was in Florida, Eustis, which is just outside Orlando, with a few girls, one of them Heather Wendorf. And back and forth from Kentucky to Florida he went for a couple of years, 6 months here, 6 months there. And in that time frame, he convinced three of his minions, as he called them, to go with him to Florida, embrace Heather, meaning they're bloodletting too, by the way, Rob. This is not just only fantasy. They're actually bloodletting and drinking each other's blood and doing rituals and, weird stuff, harsh stuff. And when he embraces her in a cemetery, meaning that they have a bloodletting ceremony, she's now a halfling, which is partially immortal. Can you believe this?
So I did want to ask you about this because this case took place in 1996. I was in junior high school then, and obviously then into the late 90s. Like you mentioned this earlier, the vampire goth thing was becoming huge then. Is this an example of a crime of the time in the sense of, hey, this thing was big and they would have never been able to get away with this if it had been, 10 years later or 10 years earlier?
Yes, I think you're absolutely right there. It was a big thing. And when I went to Murray, Kentucky, you have to understand, Murray is a very, Norman Rockwell kind of town. This is not a place, it's not Manhattan. And here's this group of these teens. We shot this for HBO in the beginning, and that how I got into this story as writing a book. Here are these teens walking around in, the black clothes with the piercings, with the collars, the dog collars with the studs, and they were frightening because they put white paint on their faces to look like these more than just regular gothic people who are doing sort of kind of outfits. No, they were full out. It was Halloween every day for these kids. Crazy.
Again, the great Aphrodite Jones is our guest. It's True Crime Tuesday. We're talking about the re-release of her book, The Embrace, an incredible story about vampires in the late 90s. And I'm curious why you decided to re-release this book now.
So here's the thing. I've seen a number of podcasts. I've seen them online. I'm not going to listen to them because I know that nobody can have the story that I have. I'm the one who interviewed Heather Wendorf exclusively. I'm the one who wrote the book. And people I see in many other renditions of this story are even getting the facts wrong. They don't even, the truth of the matter is right now we are dealing with the combination of reality and fantasy closing into each other and teenagers believing in all of these schoolhouse shootings and everything else that somehow they can be immortal or be recognized or whatever it is that they twist their minds into. Remember this, at the time that I wrote The Embrace, there were no schoolhouse shootings.
Yeah.
There was no Columbine yet. So to me, I was amazed that these teenagers could somehow convince this one psycho killer, Roderick Farrell, could convince 4 other kids to participate with him in a double homicide.
I think the other big part of this, and I'm glad that's interesting that you said that, because this is a reminder, this book is a reminder to parents, you got to know what your kids are doing, right? You got to know who your kids are hanging out with, and you got to know what they're doing with those people.
1,000%. And that's one of the things in this book shows you Ruth and her father, I can't think of the name right now, I'm blanking, but the Wendorfs, both Richard Wendorf, that's it. They were good parents. Their elder daughter, Jen, was 17 years old, a cheerleader, okay? She came home to find her parents bludgeoned to death. She then testified that Heather had said at the trial that she wanted her parents dead. It became then Heather who was the subject of whether or not she committed this murder, even though she physically wasn't present. And when you read the book, you'll see she was run out of town on a rail, but she was acquitted or found not guilty or not. She wasn't tried. That's the right word, because she was able to convince the grand jury that she had nothing to do with it. Now, that would be a question to be answered when you read the story, because there are indications that she was a participant in some way. Now, do I think she truly believed that he had killed her parents? I don't think she did. But did she goad him? It's when you're a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old, you say, I hate my parents. I wish they were dead. That kind of thing. She's saying it to a psychopath.
Aphrodite Jones is our guest. Couple of minutes left with her. We're discussing the re-release of her book, The Embrace, and it's just an absolutely incredible story from the 90s about vampires, about a cult. Do you go back and ever read your own work? I mean, look, we're coming up on 30 years on this, right? Do you ever go back and read things and go, dang, that was really good, and I was way ahead of the curve on this stuff?
I truly don't go back to read things, but I do want to read you one thing, the Vampire Creed, if I may. And
absolutely.
This was the doctrine that seduced those 4 other teenagers to participate in these acts of murder. I am a vampire. I worship my ego and I worship my life. I acknowledge the powers of darkness. I realize there is no heaven and no hell. Therefore, I will make the most of my life here and now. I am a vampire. Bow down before me.
Boy, that's some uplifting stuff, isn't it?
I mean, and this guy was a poet. He was, he was very good at convincing.
Yeah.
And when you get into his history, Rob, there were things he did in his childhood that were very indicative of a psychopath, sociopath killer. And that didn't come out until trial.
Real quick, do you, I was talking with somebody about this the other day because I knew you were going to come on the show. Do you monitor cases? Like, there's a whole community now on the internet who will just watch like different attorneys and stuff talk about criminal cases on podcasts. Like, my wife loves to do this. So there's some kind of like big cases going on right now in the internet community. Obviously, Delphi here in Indiana is a huge case. But then there's like the Sarah Boone murder case in Florida where she locked the boyfriend in the suitcase. And like, do you follow these cases you're not covering, or are you just like, hey, I get so engrossed in my own stuff that I don't have time for anything else?
Well, that depends. While I'm writing, and as you know, we talked about Levi's Eyes. While I'm writing, it's so intense for me, I really can't. but now I'm in between writing projects, so I do follow, and I have been following. I am following the suitcase trial. I followed Alec Baldwin trial. I followed Karen Reed trial, which is huge in Boston. The big ones I will follow, but to put my head into the space of horrific acts constantly, because you can just become completely sink into a sinkhole. I can't do it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I always say I can't imagine. I mean, I think you ought to just write a book about you, because you've done so much. You've covered so many things. I think that would be. I mean, you could write volumes. You could write encyclopedias about the people you've met and the things you've covered.
You're not kidding, because for my show there were 64 episodes, and we covered, for every episode you cover about 20 murders before you figure out which one you're doing. So just consider that for a moment. In addition to all my books, it's been a whirlwind, Rob. I will say this: I'm going to be featured at the National Writers Series in November 7th, because the election is the 5th. And at that, people can go online to see my talk there. And it's interesting because that writer series has included some of the biggest writers in the world: Jodi Picoult, Amy Tan, Tuesdays with Maury Guy, all of them. And they're having me there. And one of the interesting things is we don't want to talk about one of your books. We want to talk about all of your books, about you. And I'm like, oh, my God, like these huge authors in the world. And do you want to talk about me? I mean, really? And it's not me, but the world that I've lived in for 35 years. So if your audience is interested, that's going to be available online as well. National Writers Series, NWS.com, November 7th. And I'm sure I can go back on it afterward. I do want to say one thing about this story, Rob,
Sure.
that's important. His mother, Roderick Farrell's mother, whose name was Sandra Gibson, called herself Star Gibson. That was her name at the time, okay? And during the trial, she literally turned to the state attorney, Brad King, who was the DA prosecuting this case, and the reporters, and I was there, I covered the trial, and said, "We live forever." She was a part of it.
Yeah. Well, I can assure you, you do not live forever, but I'll tell you what, we're glad you're with us so often. One of the great writers and investigators in American history when it comes to true crime. Aphrodite Jones, the book, The Embrace, A True Vampire Story, the re-release. Everybody should check it out. You're the best, Aphrodite. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's Kendall Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel Show, 3:06 is when we crack the mic. We'll have a Delphi update right out of the gate. Plus, Donnie Burgess, Guy Relford, Jeff Boggs. You're not going to want to miss it. 93 WIBC.
Hoosiers need a fighter to protect our jobs and our values. I'm Todd Rokita, your Attorney General. I fight for you, and together we win. Suing Biden because he's opened the border to illegals who are killing us, harming our kids, and driving up our taxes. Stopping federal bureaucrats who kill jobs and jack up our electricity prices with their failed Green New Deal that does nothing for our air and water. Keeping criminals behind bars where they belong. Recovering millions of dollars from welfare theft, fraud, and from opioid drug manufacturers, all to protect your health and your tax dollars. Creating the Parents' Bill of Rights so you can protect our kids from those trying to corrupt them while you're at work. Successfully keeping boys from competing in girls' sports and defending, of course, our pro-life values. And the Gun Owners' Bill of Rights so you can defend yourself and your family. I'm Todd Rokita, and with your vote this November, we'll keep fighting and winning together. Paid for by the Todd Rokita Election Committee.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
It's common knowledge that after age 30, our metabolism changes. We have less energy and gain weight easier. There's a way to feel better, not in years or months, but sometimes in just days.
I'm Chuck Norris. I tried everything. Working with a team of health experts, we came up with Morning Kick. Morning Kick is a revolutionary new formula that combines all my favorite supplements into one daily drink.
Morning Kick has probiotics to help you lose weight, prebiotics for digestion, superfoods for muscles and joints, and powerful anti-aging supplements. It'll help you feel youthful, energized, and helps manage stress.
I look and feel better than I have in years.
Go to roundhouseprovisions.com, use code EASY, or text EASY to 511-511 and claim 40% off. Roundhouseprovisions.com, code EASY.
Every purchase comes with our 90-day money-back guarantee. You could be feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text EASY to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Real stories with Hellsberg.
I had the ring already. She had made it very clear what kind of ring she wanted.
Yep.
I pretended that I was going to kneel and picked up a pine cone instead of pulling out a ring.
What a jerk. But when I saw that ring, I was like, oh, he did good.
I really love Amy. I really, really genuinely love Amy.
I love you too.
At Hellsberg, find the engagement ring worthy of your story. Designed with the love, care, and craft it deserves. Visit a Hellsberg store or hellsberg.com.
Indiana has nearly 2,800 pig farmers and ranks 5th in the country in pork production. Hoosier pig farmers are raising some of the finest pork in the nation. October is National Pork Month. From family farms to innovative operations, Indiana's pig farmers are committed to quality and sustainability, all while providing your family pork that's packed with protein, vitamins, and minerals that are good for you. So the next time you're at the grocery store or your favorite restaurant, make pork your choice and celebrate Indiana pig farmers.
Pacers basketball is ready to run it back and show the world that our time is now.
Oh my! Turner with the dunk!
Get ready to experience the most fun, fast-paced team in basketball when the action tips off at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Opening night presented by Kroger tips off when your Pacers meet the 76ers Sunday at 3:30. Lucas Oil Family Night tickets start at $39 and include a Pacers hat, hot dog, chips, and a small Pepsi product. Get your tickets at pacers.com/family. Pacers 76ers Sunday at 3:30.
Check out what's going on with 93 WIBC.
Listen to Hammer and Nigel this week for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the World Food Championships, November 9th and 10th at the Indiana State Fairgrounds.
More info online at WIBC.com.
Yeah, I do this fabulous #1 rated radio show, but the real joy I get each week is my sports betting podcast with our next guest, Jason Hammer. Hello.
Hello. And let me just say, the segment you had 2 segments ago with Denny Smith calling in about the toilets, if that does not win a Marconi Award, if that doesn't win a Spectrum Award, everybody on those panels should be ashamed of themselves.
Thank you.
That was the gold standard of radio.
Yeah, I thought it was good stuff. So, speaking of going down the toilet, we got to recover from going down the toilet last week on the Degenerates Next Door Sports Betting Podcast.
Listen, we are transparent with everybody. Like, we share our lives, we share what we think, we share our bets. Some weeks are better than others.
Yeah.
I've always said, some weeks you're the dog, some weeks you're the fire hydrant.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, we were the fire hydrant.
That's right.
So I knew this would happen because we were getting a little too cocky. We went on a stretch where it was just win after win.
Both of us.
Yeah. We went through a month straight, I did, of college football where I was 16-4.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Right? The NFL prop bets. I haven't missed one in like a month.
Yeah.
But last week, I think the gambling god said, all right, Skippy.
Yeah.
We got to bring you back down to earth a little bit, and just a steel-toed kick to the crotch. That's what that was.
It was so bad, I had to start betting against you guys to recoup my losses.
Which brings me to Ethan. So we say on our program all the time, listen, if you win, we don't expect to thank you. If you lose, we don't want to hear any crap. We're just dudes. We're not pros. We have pros on our show who, do pretty well. But, we study, we do our homework. The only time I ever hear from Ethan is when he loses.
Yeah.
And he'll put out a tweet, and he thinks he's Mr. Johnny Tough Guy. Oh, I bet with Hammer and Rob and lost this week. Where were you on the 16-4 run? Where were you on the prop bet run? Were you too busy fighting with your parents on Facebook about the religion thing, Ethan? You were nowhere to be found on that. You're the worst, most despicable person in gambling. I hope you develop a problem, and I hope you lose your house.
Here's the reason why I have a problem with you, Jason, is because you brought the bad mojo. Notice I specifically blamed you for the Tennessee game. I didn't blame you for anything else. It's because you brought all the fan energy and the winning spirit over to Tennessee, and you tanked the bet. You tanked my bet, and that's why I blame you. Because otherwise, it would have gone perfectly according to plan, but it was the spiritual energy that you bestowed into the atmosphere of the arena that I think was the difference there.
You are no different than some of these people that go on the YouTube chat that say, "Oh, I'm never going to listen again. I hate you people." And yet we'll see a tweet from you again the very next week.
Here's how obnoxious you got, Ethan. Hammer and I were cheering against the Jets on Sunday night, even though we bet on the Jets just because we knew you'd bet a bunch on the Jets.
We found out you went big on it, and we were rooting against you. We were willing to sacrifice our money to make sure you were more miserable, Ethan.
And this is the sort of person you're dealing with, the Degenerates Next Door podcast. We will cheer against our own bets if you're going to lose more money than we will.
Right. Again, we do our homework. And I still have a winning record in each one of these leagues. Ran the table in prop bets this past week, but man, I got to get back on it. So at 1 o'clock this afternoon, give or take 1 o'clock, the new college football edition will drop, and got to get back on the horse.
Got to keep shooting in basketball. You got to keep betting in sports. And what's coming up this afternoon?
So we are going to have Guy Relford in. We are going to have Jeff Boggs in. Yeah! Delphi Donnie will come in at 5 o'clock because by 5 o'clock we'll have a whole new amount of updates for Delphi. And as always, we're going to have a good time.
It's Kendall Casey Show, 93
Ethan
WIBC.
stinks!
It's a bully that will not let up until you do something about it. And the worst part is that the bullying happens when you're at your most vulnerable. You might as well have your hands tied behind your back while that bully puts one hand over your mouth and pinches your nose with the other. He'll let up, let you catch your breath, and then he'll do it again. Sleep apnea is a bully. Not long ago, we heard our friend John tell you about how his bully was stopping his breathing in his sleep over 145 times an hour. Think about what that can do to your body's organs. It's no wonder that the snowball effects of long-term obstructive sleep apnea are heart disease, stroke, even depression and anxiety. But this problem is solvable, and we have solutions, and you'll be surprised at how simple they are.
To date, Advent has solved over 40,000 breathing triangle problems. It's time to put that bully in his place. Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment because Advent knows. When you breathe well, you live better. Results may vary.
Jennifer McCormick couldn't name a single thing she disagreed with Hillary Clinton on. That's because, just like Hillary, McCormick backed failed liberal policies. She endorsed Bidenomics, said she'd be honored to serve in Biden's administration. She opposed school choice, and she even supports biological boys playing girls' sports.
Did you vote for Hillary Clinton?
I did vote for Hillary Clinton. She had some great, world foreign policy experience. So, I did vote for Hillary Clinton.
It gets worse. Here's what Jennifer McCormick says about Donald Trump.
I cannot get behind that. Never voted for Trump, never will vote for Trump, never was behind Trump, never will be behind Trump. I just cannot get behind a party who is behind that type of leadership. To me, it's nonsensical.
Jennifer McCormick, hopelessly liberal. Paid for by Mike Braun for Indiana.
Inside Indiana Business Radio, the news you need to get ahead. Indiana's business news leader, weekdays at 6:32 a.m. and 5:56 p.m. on WIBC.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for 1951 cabinetry. Visit Drexel's Kitchen and Bath Design Centers at 146th and River Road, North Shadeland, or DrexelIN.com.
Coming up in 2 minutes, prosecutors showed the crime scene pictures to the Delphi murders to the jury. Plus, John Herrick reports on how much Carmel is planning to spend in its budget for 2025. I'm Kurt Darling. That and more coming up from the Technology Recycler Studios after Fox News. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
More Americans are going to the polls 2 weeks before Election Day. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, adding to the 15 million people who have voted already early. And Wisconsin's one of the 4 states allowing in-person voting today early for absentee ballots there.
Nobody wants to learn the lesson that the Hillary Clinton campaign learned the hard way back in 2016, and that is you can't take Wisconsin for granted. So that is why the Democrats are pulling out their most potent weapon, former President Barack Obama.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Madison, Wisconsin, where Obama will campaign today with Vice President Harris's running mate Tim Walz.
Now, Obama has already voiced concern that black men are not motivated by the Harris-Walz campaign, and with a very broad brush, he accused them of sexism. The quote was that black men just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president.
Former President Trump's about to hold an event with Latino leaders in Miami after a USA Today Suffolk poll gives Trump a lead among Latino voters.
By 11 points. So, Vice President Harris is losing traction amongst those Hispanics. The Harris campaign is fighting back to hold on, putting out a campaign ad with legendary singer Mark Anthony, and she's also taping an interview today with Telemundo.
Fox's Aisha Hasni in Miami. The FBI is now investigating the leak of American intelligence that may compromise Israel, appearing to detail its plan to retaliate against Iran for this month's missile attack, something that Secretary of State Antony Blinken may be discussing in Israel today with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And days after Israel killed Hamas's leader, Blinken will also
push for a ceasefire and a peace deal. A senior State Department official tells Fox when it comes to any solution in Gaza, it's unclear what the next few weeks will hold. Hamas needs to figure out its own leadership in order to get back to the table.
Fox's Matt Finn in Tel Aviv. As the U.S. wraps up the mission in Iraq fighting the Islamic State group, Iraq's prime minister has announced today a military operation has killed ISIS's leader in that country, along with 8 other senior terrorist leaders. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Graphic crime scene photos. Radar is clear. It is 64 and sunny downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:02. Those were displayed during the 3rd day of Richard Allen's trial, as he's accused of killing Abby Williams and Libby German in February 2017 in Delphi. Bloodstains could be seen on both of their bodies, the photos causing audible gasps in the courtroom when shown. Testimony will continue today as the prosecution continues to make their case as to why they believe Allen is guilty. Valerie McRae, the Democrat running for Indiana's open Senate seat, claims inflation has not been as bad as what you've been led to believe.
We have to stop, for one, perpetuating a myth that somehow the United States have more inflation than other countries. In fact, we are the lowest.
She also says it's been Democrats who have historically passed balanced budgets, and that the way to get a handle on the national debt is to ensure the rich pay their fair share. The city of Carmel's budget for 2025 is approximately $233 million. John Herrick reports on how the city plans to spend that money.
That budget was passed Monday night. Carmel Mayor Sue Finkham says the Carmel Fire Department is getting close to $47 million of that, while the police department is supposed to get about $37 million. Finkham says the money will be used to hire more officers and firefighters, as well as cover overtime costs, among other things. Beech Grove also passed its budget for next year on Monday at $19 million. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Gas is the cheapest it's been since February. In Indiana, the average for unleaded is $3.03, says GasBuddy.com. With Curtis Rourke out of the lineup for the time being, Indiana head football coach Curt Cignetti says it's next man up at quarterback.
We have 100% confidence, and the team has 100% confidence. I have confidence. The staff has confidence in Taven Jackson. I thought he played really well in the second half. We got a tough challenge this week.
Jackson, a Cedar Grove grad, threw for 2 touchdowns in the second half against Nebraska. They face 4-3 Washington this Saturday with ESPN's College Game Day in attendance. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Xfinity here. How can we help?
Hi. My daughter invited her entire class to her birthday party. Can my Wi-Fi handle it?
Oh, well, at Xfinity, our latest gateways have tri-band Wi-Fi technology, letting you connect hundreds of devices at once.
No way. So if all the kids are watching stuff on their phones, well, their parents are sharing videos online.
Yep, go ahead and watch videos. They can all do their thing and party their way. No problem.
Oh, we are gonna need a bigger cake.
Now through December 22nd, new customers can get 150 megabit Xfinity Internet for $35 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. And get free Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Xfinity, bring on the good stuff. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, your American Standard air dealer in Hendricks County.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
People in Indiana simply are not passionate about voting, and a whole lot of people are trying to figure out why that is. 93 WIBC, it's Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Ethan Hatcher from Saturday Night on the Circle. In her place, Kev is here. So Indy Star, now Capital Chronicle had an article similar to this a couple days ago we talked about, but Kayla Dwyer from Indy Star has an article saying what we all know, that Indiana's voter turnout is one of the worst in the entire country. Out of 51, the states, and then Puerto Rico or Washington D.C. I'm sorry, it's 50th. I mean, it is one of the worst levels of voter participation, and people have taken note of this and are beginning to try to get or come up with ways to get more people involved in the political process. And my take on this, Ethan, is, by the way, have you voted yet?
No, I always vote on election day. I think I've actually only voted once by absentee, and it was because I was going on a planned vacation, so I voted ahead of time.
Kev, you voted yesterday.
Yeah,
correct. You're a Johnson County person?
Yep.
Now, was there a line?
There was no line, but I would say there was about 20 people in there at each machine.
So
each machine was occupied. There's about 20 machines.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So they got the vote centers in Johnson County where you can go to different spots, and whether you're in, Greenwood or Bargersville or wherever you can vote at that location. Your ballot will pull up and whatever.
Yeah, there's good options.
If they're filling up all those machines, though, we got to be doing pretty good for early voting.
I mean, you think about a state of 7 million people. Now, obviously, not all of those are adults, but let's just say there's 4 million. I don't know what the number is. 4 million eligible voters. Think about how many people that actually is. And, and the lines in Hendricks County, it seems like have been very long. They have the vote centers now. And I know this is an unpopular take. If I got to get you passionate about voting, I really don't want you voting.
Yep. Same page.
If I have to have a reason to, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because if I have to get you into doing your civic duty, then there's a chance you're not voting consistently the same way I'm voting each time.
Maybe we experienced a similar trajectory, but if you would have asked teenage Ethan whether or not he believed every person should participate in the election, overwhelmingly I said yes. We should have more participation, more people should be involved, politics should be a part of more conversations. And then you know what happened, Rob?
What?
Politics became part of more conversations, and then suddenly it invaded every aspect of life, of entertainment, of video games, of culture, and it's just exhausting, and life didn't functionally improve. In fact, the only thing that we saw was a lot more participation from people who really had no business participating in politics to begin with. So I'm with you. If they choose to self-select and not participate because they don't have the motivation, I'm okay with that. We're fine.
Yeah, and, I think part of it is people, I was talking about this with somebody yesterday. We were talking about how poorly, this is it's a school administrator, and we were talking about how poorly local governments are run. I mean, there are some really clueless people who run communities across central Indiana. And then we were talking about the state, and we were talking about there's some really clueless people running the state. And part of that is the clueless people running the communities are a reflection of the voting populace in the community. And part of that is very few people, especially at a local level, have any sort of governmental philosophy. Like when I was elected, I said, I'm doing two things. We are cutting taxes and we are building roads. And you can say whatever you want to say about me. We cut a lot of taxes and we built and improved a lot of roads. Why? Because the improved roads were the key catalyst to economic development, which is commercial attraction, which is lower the taxes. They all fell together in the same philosophy. And when you have a philosophy, then there's things you do to make the philosophy happen. Where most of these people who have no philosophy, They're just judging everything in front of them, each individual thing that comes in front of them, rather than, okay, what is my philosophy? What am I trying to accomplish? How do I get there? How do I make it happen? There's none of that taking place. And I think it's the same thing with the voters, where people aren't voting with, like, you vote with the philosophical premise, right? That I believe the government should be these things, and of the people that I have to vote for, which of these people makes that thing happen more?
Correct. It's a process.
And you probably, like me, leave much of your ballot blank.
Yes.
I would bet there's much you simply, it's okay. You don't have to vote for everything. If somebody doesn't earn your vote, you don't have to vote for the thing. And so I think until you get people passionate about holding their government accountable,
there's going to be about principles.
Right. There's going to be individual candidates. We talked about the other day about how the candidates don't inspire people to vote. Let's just take the governor's race. And I know you love Don, but there's nothing about any of these three candidates where you're like, "Ooh, I'm super passionate about that. That person really inspires me to go to the polls." They're all pretty boring. They all have major flaws in the things that they're proposing.
I mean, I would disagree. I'm pretty inspired to go to the polls for Donald, but continue.
Even knowing what you know now about how the guy totally misled and deceived you, and you wouldn't let him run your Little League concession stand if your life depended on it, you're still passionate about a guy. He didn't even care enough to give you any details on his property tax plan. He's so damn lazy that he had 4 years and he won't give you any details. And that, you, the good government guy, are passionate about that?
Rob, I am going to say this again. Out of the candidates who are currently running, only one of them has voted for the largest perpetually increasing state tax in Indiana state history. So, I'm going to vote for the guy that didn't vote for that.
Right, but there's a difference between I'm going to vote for and I'm super fired. You're too smart of a guy to believe, Rainwater he's put time into it. He really cares. He's trying.
I am passionate about my property taxes going away, and that is agenda item number one on the Rainwater governor plan. So sign me up.
Well, I definitely would not have thought that I was going to hear from somebody that they were passionate, especially you of all people. But okay. In general, though, people do not feel a compelling reason to go vote. And so I've been stuck on for a while that I think it's the candidates, but I also think it's part of we as a society it's not ingrained in us. It's not taught in us. It's the sense of responsibility to it, to have a sense of philosophy. Like, what is my view of life? What is my view of what government should be? What is my view of the restraints or restrictions that should be put on government? And when you don't have any way to judge how government is actually doing, you're just picking it election by election, person by person.
I think part of the reason why voters in Indiana are particularly apathetic about participating is because they see very little opportunity for change. Indiana is a state, for better or for worse, that goes along to get along. You know what I mean? And all things considered, I would rather have a state that wasn't overly active in the legislature than one that was. So, maybe the philosophy works out.
Okay, so speaking of how people vote, Mark Cuban, he hates Trump. And what's interesting to me sometimes in politics is people allow their hate to blind them to the obvious. And then when they don't see the obvious, they don't know how to win those people back to their side. So what I mean by that is young men, Kev's age, Gen Z, younger millennials are voting overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. Polling is showing that which is a stark contrast to what we've seen in the past, where younger people typically go for Democrats. And there's a very clear reason, at least in my mind, of why that's happening, which is that first of all, the Democrats are no longer talking about issues that matter to those people. Like when Jennifer McCormick is running ads during college football that are abortion, 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 that's not saying anything to those people that they care about. You're not reaching those people where they are. They're going to tune you out. But it's also, the Democrats have vilified what it means to be a man. The Democrats have vilified what it means to be a man. They label it toxic masculinity.
Very
masculinity. And these Gen Z kids are good, and it's a good thing. They're recoiling against that. They're saying, no, being a man means something. Men have a place in society. Men have responsibilities. It's not a bad thing to be proud to be a man and do the things that men are supposed to do. And so Mark Cuban, what's interesting about this, because he's a brilliant guy, he's made a lot of money, he clearly knows how to communicate with people and connect with people. He is so blinded to that he's trying to find an excuse why it's not happening, and he blames it, listen to this, on algorithms on the internet.
And you were recently on The View talking about how social media has created a gender gap in American politics. First of all, I just wanted to know, how did you get on that topic? How did you sort of realize that?
So they asked me about the gender gap, and I'm a geek, right? I use all technology. You know, you want to know the difference between Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, I'll tell you. So I'm that geeky. And when they asked me, I thought about it before, because it's obvious. You know what it's like, right? You're scrolling. And the more you look at one thing, if you watch one video, you're getting more of those videos. And for guys, it's even more so, because you start watching football, then you get an Andrew Tate video, that leads to a Donald Trump video, and then you get more and more Donald Trump videos, and it's just a reinforcing loop. And so that's why I got to that conclusion.
I've never seen an Andrew Tate video. Is he he's that influencer guy that's he's in some hot water, right? I think, yeah. But
the
I mean,
Romanian guy said whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know if he actually believes that, or if he's just saying it as like a talking point to cover for why Kamala Harris is doing so bad. But that's crazy that if a guy that smart is so blinded by his political hate that he genuinely thinks that it's algorithms that are manipulating people to vote for Donald Trump.
He's probably speaking from personal experience. And here's the funny thing, because Mark Cuban may have inadvertently told us how much time, energy, and attention he focuses on Donald Trump. Because I tell you this as a social media user, and surely, Rob, you have seen the same thing. These algorithms, whether it's YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, they only shape what you see based on what you interact with.
That's correct.
So if you are constantly clicking on Trump videos, if you're constantly talking about Donald Trump and inviting his content onto your page, then you're going to see a lot more Donald Trump content because you are interacting with it. So if that's all that Mark Cuban sees on his feed and he's fretting about the algorithms, Mark Cuban, the algorithm is a product of you.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Ethan. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about when we come back. So Trump, we've talked about how Trump has done a phenomenal job of reaching people where they're at. And he did this the other day. He went on a podcast with the wrestler The Undertaker. And this was a fascinating back and forth, and I think it's a great example of how Trump is winning these pockets of people. And I'm going to play you some audio from this when we come back. It's Kendall Casey Show. Ethan's in for Casey, 93 WIBC.
When this election is over, we're all going to need a drink. To come to think of it, let's book that now. WIBC and Tony Katz present
Understanding the Election in 3 Bourbons.
Brought to you by Premier Arms.
Thursday, November 14th. And we're going to try and get the answers.
He'll then explain the bourbons that go nicely with election analysis. You'll get a cigar.
There's going to be bourbon. There's going to be food.
A cash bar. And stimulating conversation.
It's going to be an incredible night.
Get the details and your tickets before they sell out at WIBC.com.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
It's that time again, where we choose who we think is the best candidate for office. It's a difficult decision that requires the evaluation of contenders. Do they have the appropriate skills and experience for this office? Are they the right type of leader? Do they have a clear vision? Selecting the right candidate is no easy feat. That's why, for your office, there's ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes choosing the right candidate for any office easy because they only find and send you the most qualified people for your roles. Best of all, they do it fast. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So, while you're thinking about that really big decision, rest assured that any other hiring decision will be much easier when you use ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-525-9369, 800-525-9369, 800-525-9369.
High taxes can erode returns quickly. Are you keeping as much of your investment gains as possible? Let Creative Planning help with a free year-end tax review. This personalized review will help you reduce your tax burden before the year ends. It's the perfect time to take proactive steps to optimize your tax situation. Go to creativeplanning.com/radio and request your free tax review. Act now. This offer is only good till Monday, October 28th at midnight. That's creativeplanning.com/radio.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Don't you deserve health care you can count on? Well, you can count on United Healthcare with Medicare plans that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. You can enjoy reliable coverage and low out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans. Made for Indianapolis, trusted everywhere. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for 1951 cabinetry. Visit Drexel's Kitchen and Bath Design Centers at 146th and River Road, North Shaveland, or DrexelIN.com.
So Trump continues to find pockets of voters by exploiting media that previously has not been used. It's Kendall Casey Show, 93 WIBC. We talked about this at length on the show over the past several months about what a great job Trump has done finding especially Gen Z and younger millennial men by going on these different podcasts that are not, traditional media. It used to be, hey, I'm doing an interview with 60 Minutes or Meet the Press or whatever. And now Trump, to his credit, has largely bypassed that and is now finding these voters in what at least for politics are unique places by these podcasts. The Theo Vaughn guy, obviously. There's the what are some of these other ones he's gone on, Kev, that you listen to? Who are these people?
Joe Rogan.
Andrew Schultz, I think, was one. He's a comedian.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone with all of these guys who are targeting Gen Z and millennial men. And one of these places that he has gone now this is not Gen Z millennial men. It's probably Gen X men or older millennial men like me. Most people know this, but one of the great wrestling characters of all time was a guy named Mark Calloway. He played a character called The Undertaker. And The Undertaker was a beloved figure. He's retired now, but he has a podcast where almost all of his other conversation is pro wrestling. He'll have other former wrestlers on. They relive memories. This is a big genre now of podcasting where famous retired wrestlers basically sell their stories. They have advertisers. They have other wrestlers on. They tell you behind-the-scenes things about wrestling, about how it worked, about how the matches came together, about how they decided what they were going to do, etc. Well, The Undertaker is a conservative, and he decided to really step outside the traditional zones of his podcast, and he decided he was going to have Donald Trump on his podcast, which, let's face it, Trump is gold for these people because you're going to get tons of hits that you otherwise were not going to get.
Yeah. Be good for a podcast.
You saw this with Bryson DeChambeau, who's a golfer. He does that Breaking 50 podcast where he plays with a celebrity and they try to break 50, combining their shots together. And he did this. And I mean, it's ratings gold for these podcasters to have Trump on. And I thought there was some interesting back and forth. Look, this is, again, it's not 60 Minutes. It's not Meet the Press. You're not getting great journalism. You're just getting two dudes sitting there talking. And The Undertaker asked Trump about why he's running again.
I don't know. I mean, what possesses you to put your life on the line when you don't have to? Yeah. You have a wonderful life and you've got a tremendous legacy.
Beyond that, I sometimes joke with the crowds because we get very big crowds. We had 107,000 in Butler. That's where the accident took place. We had 55,000 when we went back a couple of months later. We had just 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. We had 107,000. We had 101,000 in California. And,
incredible.
3 days ago. Big crowds. And, abnormally big because no politician ever had these crowds. I don't even know what it is exactly. I can't explain it. Why am I getting, it's like, why? But I sometimes say, I don't have to be here with you. I could be in Monte Carlo and the beaches. I could have everything. I don't need this. But I'd rather be in Butler, Pennsylvania with you, and it's true, actually. Because, look, I have a lot of wealthy friends, and they go to these places, and, most of them aren't happy and all that stuff. But, I feel I have a purpose, and that's to rebuild our country. This country is doing so badly.
Trump is the only guy who could get away with saying, I'm super rich, and I got a lot of rich friends, and I don't need you people. But here I am, and you're almost like, yeah, he's really doing me a service.
I like how he's bragging about the crowd sizes, too. That's a Trump thing. You've never seen crowds this size. No politician draws crowds like Donald Trump draws crowds.
One of the things I've said for years on this show, and I say this as somebody who grew up, I don't watch it anymore, but I grew up watching professional wrestling, and I grew up wanting to be those guys. When I was a kid, I used to watch professional wrestling, and my parents, when they agreed to let me watch professional wrestling, they let me in on the secret, right? This is not real from the standpoint of the outcomes are predetermined, and when you're a little kid, you don't know anything from anything, but then hey, this guy, The Undertaker, doesn't actually live in the cemetery, right? Like this is a guy playing a character, right? These guys are athletic, but they let me in on what it was. And so when you start watching it as a young kid, and this is a great service my parents did for me by doing this, I always watched it from the standpoint of their ability to manipulate people. Like, I was always like, do other people know this isn't real? And my parents would say, well, they should. Maybe some don't, but everybody should. And I said, wait a second, everybody knows this is predetermined and they watch it anyway, and this emotion they get from people in the audience, are you sure other people know that this is predetermined? Yeah, Rob, we're sure. And I used to watch these guys and say, I want to be like those guys. So much of what I do here I learned there. Like, I watched guys like Bobby Heenan and Jim Cornette. The managers were always interesting to me because the managers, they never even got in the ring. They were able to solicit emotion from you just using their voice. Just using their voice, they were able to make you feel things, rage or happiness. And I used to watch pro wrestling. And so The Undertaker, point in all this is The Undertaker's talking to Trump about how pro wrestling and politics they're a lot alike.
I know you got to have that. I know you got that tough guy persona and that bravado, but I think, this is good. This is fun. And I think, you know what you've done? You've made politics fun again.
Yeah.
And I just think some people get caught up in the fact that I think they look at politics now kind of like a wrestling story, and they can't separate reality.
I think he's spot on with that the whole thing has morphed together because nobody believes in these politicians anymore. Nobody believes that these politicians actually care about you. And in a weird way, it's now become when I was 7 or 8 years old, and you see the emotion that politics generates out of people, the same way wrestling, the wrestlers would generate emotion out of the audience. But you go, the outcome's fixed. These guys are basically, the Democrats and the Republicans are basically working together just like the wrestlers are working together, and they're working against you.
I think you're onto something. I think this is an apt comparison, left wing, right wing. They're both part of the same bird. And if anything, we've seen recently the way directions that elections have taken is they're very little about the substance, very little about the policies, and they've become increasingly more about the showmanship and the entertainment value that these people provide, which is kind of the last thing that you should be banking on your politicians to provide you is entertainment.
Yeah. One other thing, then we'll move on. But Trump said, and this floored me. So The Rock, most people have kind of associated The Rock with being liberal. He kind of seems like he's lined up. He's never come out and actually said it, but he lines up Hollywood guy, a lot of liberal politicians. Trump claims The Rock called him after the assassination attempt.
I guess I'm not.
You're not into it.
Is my social media?
It's pretty big. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Who's the biggest on social media?
The Rock.
Oh, The Rock is, Dwayne Johnson.
You know, he was great. I never thought he liked me. And I felt badly because I think he's a terrific guy. And then Dana White said, when I was shot, took a shot to the ear. You may have heard about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about it. I heard some rumblings about this. Yes.
Rock called Dana and said, I want to have his number. What he did is sort of incredible. He considered it bravery. I don't know. To me, I considered it like, what's going on here? But it was very nice, actually, The Rock. So you might mention that I said that. Do you speak to him?
Occasionally. I saw him. I saw him in April.
I love this interview. I think you can learn a lot from listening to people outside your comfort zone, and I would encourage everybody to check out that interview. Wait until noon, though, because we don't care what you do during Tony Katz. Kendall Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
The jury has seen them. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:30. Crime scene photos in the Delphi murders trial were shown to the jury Monday. Donnie Burgess reports.
The photos show the bodies of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, and every bloody detail you could imagine was discussed by State Police Sergeant Jason Page, who took the photos 7 years ago. The families turned away, and the jury was visibly shaken, say reporters in the courtroom. Richard Allen is charged with 4 counts of murder. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Israel, hoping to restart ceasefire talks to stop the fighting in Gaza and Lebanon. It's Blinken's 11th visit to the region since the war in Gaza began last year, but the first since Hezbollah in Lebanon and Israel stepped up their conflict. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
As the summer fades and the cool breeze of fall sets in, it's the perfect time to get back to the basics, especially when it comes to your financial future. At Howard Bailey Financial, we believe in simplifying your retirement plan. Our team of advisors help you build a customized retirement strategy that is designed to help reduce risk, increase income, and mitigate tax. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine your plan, we're here to guide you every step of the way. It's never too early or too late to make sure your financial future is secure. Text BASICS to 888-262-1104 to download your complimentary retirement planning toolkit today. That's BASICS to 888-262-1104. Howard Bailey Financial. Back to the basics. Forward to your future. Howard Bailey Securities, LLC is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. Please see disclosures at howardbailey.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust. Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free.
Endurance has paid hundreds of millions in claims. Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-291-0198. That's 800-291-0198. 800-291-0198.
It's Tuesday. Sunday's right around the corner. It'll be here before you know it. And this Sunday, if you're looking for a new church home or even a first church home, check out my friends at Life Church. You know, we love Life Church. They've had such a great impact on my life, on my family's life. And boy, they'd love the opportunity to meet and welcome you and your family this Sunday. They're warm, they're welcoming, and many WIBC listeners have found a home at Life Church over the years. You got to see it for yourself. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Campuses all across central Indiana, Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, and Pendleton, plus awesome online services. Learn more about everything at lifechurchin.com.
Truck drivers, are you tired of missing out on valuable time at home? At Midwest Logistics Systems, you can find a local dedicated job that gets you home every day. Plus, we offer predictable Monday through Friday schedules with occasional Saturdays. As an MLS driver, you'll haul 100% no-touch freight, earn performance and safety bonuses, and have access to full benefits. Don't wait. Upgrade your driving job today. Search jobs and apply now at MidwestLogisticsSystems.com. That's MidwestLogisticsSystems.com.
I just wish Mom could hear better on the phone.
Dad gets so upset with me when I call. I wish it were different.
The CapTel Caption phone from Relay, Indiana allows you to speak into the phone and your words appear on a bright, easy-to-read screen. Conversations occur naturally with added clarity.
I used to love our phone chats. I wish it was like before.
Now it can be with the CapTel Caption phone. Go to RelayIndiana.com and call 334-1413 today.
It's a harsh fact of life, but failure is inevitable.
You can work harder than you ever thought possible and still lose.
Sometimes someone else is simply better than you.
While life teaches us that we will sometimes lose, education-based athletics teach us how to deal with those losses in a mentally healthy way. I'm Bella Miller-Krieger from University High School.
And I'm Charlie Hosnow from Forest Park High School. With our coaches and teammates supporting us, student athletes learn how to move past the letdown and focus on the next point, the next play, and the next game.
We learn that negative energy is wasted energy, and that no matter how many times we fall short, as long as we are learning and never give up, we'll ultimately win.
I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Knighty. Be a champion of high school sports and the resiliency they build by buying a ticket to your high school's athletic events. This is overcoming adversity. This is developing mental toughness. This is your IHSAA.
This is Danny Reinhardt with Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. Give us a call for any of your heating and cooling needs. We're here to serve you. 317-745-4526.
Reinhardt is your trusted local independent American Standard Air dealer.
Lousy well water? You just can't find anybody better than the pros at C&J. Great systems and great people, too. Call C&J at 317-852-WELL.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
This can't be right. Is this right? No.
Makes you do a double take, doesn't it?
So Fox has a poll that just came out that says Trump is 11 points up with Latino voters.
And then Kamala Harris tries to convince you that you're xenophobic and hate minorities if you support Trump.
So, okay, this is, let's see, this was done October 14th through the 18th. So this was recent. What is today, the 22nd?
Yes.
And they've got him at 49% and her at 38%.
It's wild.
If that's right, we're done here.
Yeah. No, it's good. Well, look, we already knew that it was game over when Kamala Harris and Barack Obama were having to go out to persuade African Americans to vote for her.
Well, that's a good point, because then there's another, I already had this one on the template. Arab News YouGov has a poll out that shows Trump's up too with Arab American voters. Well, if you're in Michigan, like, I'm not saying this translates to every state, but let's just assume it's somewhat accurate. If Trump's winning 45% of Arab voters in and around Detroit, and he's winning 49% of Hispanic voters, or he's 11 up or whatever, we're done here, aren't we?
What remains to
How
be
can he lose?
Well, what remains to be seen is whether or not these people who are making their voices known in the polls actually show up to vote.
Well, that's a good point. You'd think if you answered a poll, though, you would.
You would think, but people are strange creatures.
What? But I thought Hispanics only cared about illegal immigration. I thought that was their issue.
That was their big thing.
I thought I was led to believe that you you're racist, and they're going to punish you at the polls if you're for secure borders.
Yeah, turns out that they see safety and a benefit to their own security and the prosperity of the country by maintaining an ordered border.
And Fox has not been kind to Trump in the polls.
Nope.
Like he's losing in lots of polls they've done over time. So it's not some super biased thing. Can we play this audio of this UAW guy? This is a perfect time to play this. The UAW, obviously, the Teamsters did not endorse. They stayed out of the presidential race. Then some of these local guys came out and locally endorsed Kamala Harris, but nationally they stayed out. And a lot of union members have said very clearly, we are supporting Donald Trump. We don't care what our leadership says. We simply don't care. And we've seen like the firefighters union then did not endorse Kamala Harris, which was a huge blow. And it's, I mean, a lot of these unions have made it clear it's because the rank and file they're not with the leadership, and we're not going to go. It's so overwhelming for Trump. So this UAW guy, this is CNN. They talked to this guy when Kennedy was running. He was for Kennedy. Now he's for Trump. I think this is very interesting. Why?
Bill Govier is a 30-plus year union worker at Ford, and he has this side business cleaning car underbodies. When we first visited 4 months ago, he was a fan of Robert Kennedy Jr. Now, he will cast his third ballot for Trump.
RFK joining Trump effectively, I couldn't script it any better the way I would like it to be. I love the idea of Donald Trump being the commander-in-chief. I love the idea of how Donald Trump handles the nefarious characters in the world.
Govier believes more than half of UAW members at his Ford plant will vote Trump. He says Harris laughs too much, and he can't take her seriously.
So what is it? You're the incumbent who wouldn't do anything different, or are you the underdog that wants change?
I thought that was a very interesting clip into the mindset of how a lot of potential blue-collar workers are going to decide their ballot.
That's fascinating. And here, Michael J. Hicks was telling everybody that if you were voting based on the economy, then that means you're a white supremacist.
How does that guy still have a job after putting that out? And it really does give you an insight into college campuses that a guy can put that out and say, hey, you're a white supremacist if you're supporting Donald Trump. And that he doesn't think anything about it. He has no fear of losing his job. He has no fear of being held to account at Ball State. I can just say or do whatever I want, and this place is so radically left, these college campuses are so radically left, that I'll simply be able to get away with it.
The contempt that leftists have for the average American is a big explanatory factor in why Trump is resurging, because otherwise it doesn't make sense.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, a lot of restaurants are in a lot of trouble. Filing for bankruptcy. Some of them are not making it out. We will talk about why and what could be next for the restaurant industry. Ethan in for Casey. Kev's here. It's Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
The victims of Hurricane Helene need our help. Go to disaster.salvationarmyusa.org. That's disaster.salvationarmyusa.org. From the Salvation Army and WIBC.
Those who don't have 20/20 vision usually do something about it. But many who can't breathe freely through their nose just live with it, not realizing they can have 20/20 breathing. At Advent, we're out to change that. With 20/20 breathing, you'll have fewer sinus infections, more energy, you'll sleep better, and you will live better. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. In 2006, Advent pioneered the balloon sinuplasty procedure. And since, thousands of our patients can tell you, this simple 20-minute in-office solution really works. Balloon sinuplasty can give you 20/20 breathing so you can breathe freely through both nostrils with your mouth closed day and night. And that can change your life.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Results may vary.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust. Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free.
Endurance has paid hundreds of millions in claims. Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-291-0198. That's 800-291-0198. 800-291-0198.
Attention taxpayers. If you or your business owe the IRS back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, the IRS has green-lighted billions of dollars in tax relief to those facing financial hardship through its tax relief initiatives. If you have a delinquent tax problem and possibly facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, audits, or already in a payment plan, you may now qualify for significant relief. Qualifying and enrolling in this program could stop all collections, settle your tax problem, and may even reduce what you owe by up to 99%. Call the hotline at Tax Help USA to see if you qualify by dialing 800-735-0911. If you or your business owe at least $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS or state, you can now get the help that you need during these hard economic times. Call Tax Help USA to get your free tax assessment to see what you qualify for by dialing 800-735-0911. 800-735-0911. That's 800-735-0911.
Earn, save, grow. It's time your money works harder and goes further with a Stockyards Bank and Trust CD. For a limited time, earn 5.15 annual percentage yield with our 5-month CD special. Proudly serving our communities since 1904. Visit any of our 5 Indianapolis area locations or syb.com/IndyCD today and experience the Stockyards Bank difference. 10,000 minimum balance required. Limited time offer. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Great news! Indy Rhino Shield has partnered with Green Sky Financing to offer affordable monthly payments with 0% interest loans to qualified customers. Call 888-RHINO-41 for details.
You want to listen all day to WIBC, but you don't always have time. Don't worry. There's a podcast for that. The WIBC Mashup. Daily highlights from your favorite hosts, Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey, and Hammer and Nigel. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
You're a man of great wealth. But well, you're a real estate king of the east side of Indianapolis.
Sure, a real estate that I will be paying on until I'm over 60 years old. So, that's part of the business.
By the way, it is the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob Ethan Hatcher's in for Casey today. Rob, real quick before I get to this topic, because I want to talk about the restaurant industry being in big trouble, some parts of the restaurant industry. Like when you own a bunch of properties, because people think, oh, you own so many properties. You're not like actually rich, right?
No, because see, that's the fun thing about being a landlord. I spend most of my time paying other people's bills because there's the upfront cost of the mortgages. Right. There is the property taxes. I have to pay $16,000 in property taxes every 6 months. It's just a renewing bill, and it gets larger every year. It's fantastic. I still owe $4,500 due by November 10th, which is my birthday, Rob. I owe Uncle Sam almost $5,000 for my birthday. Okay. So no, I'm not getting rich off this. It pays the bills, don't get me wrong, but,
So I've had this. So the last, obviously, I own my house now, but the house I rented before, I had this conversation. I had a really great landlord. He actually lived just like right around the corner from me. Yeah. He owned several properties, and he'd come over every so often to fix things. And we'd shoot the breeze. He kind of knew what I did for a job, and I was asking him about owning these rental properties. He owned a variety of other businesses. I think they were just kind of building equity in the houses. You're basically having somebody else pay your mortgage for you when you're renting. I mean, well,
in theory.
Well, one of the things he was saying, because for 2 years he never raised my rent because I was such a good tenant.
Yes.
And he was talking about how hard it is to get good tenants. And he said the value in having a good tenant far eclipses what you would ever do raising somebody's rent.
He is so right.
Well, because he was saying, you're going to pay every month. You're not going to destroy anything. You're going to tell me if something breaks. And so I was thinking, because we're going to talk about the profit margins here with restaurants, profit margins probably pretty slim in the rental business too, because if like one person doesn't pay you, you're basically out of luck.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why it's always important to pay the bills ahead of time, because more often than not, you have people that are skipping out on you, and then they either catch up or you have to go after them in arrears. And then if you get a judgment from court, that's basically like a suitcase full of IOUs, because it doesn't mean diddly squat until you actually pay the debt collector to go after the debt. And that could take a process of years into itself. So yeah, you need to really be on top of things to make this operation work. And if only a few people come up short, it can easily tank the whole thing. You gotta be a forward thinker, Rob.
Well, the reason I bring this up is there was an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal, and we've talked about this before on this show, about restaurant industry. Many restaurants now are heading into bankruptcy, and we've laid out, like, obviously Red Lobster was a big one.
COVID was the death of fast casual.
Yeah, and so my question on this is, because it seems like, okay, hey, McDonald's is always going to thrive. They're going to find a way. They can do things, like even if they're losing money on this $5 deal. Yes.
Even McDonald's had to adapt, though, because they brought back the $5 deal, because even McDonald's was getting too damn expensive.
Well, and this is the thing, right? If you're part of with someone like a McDonald's is it's almost the restaurant equivalent of too big to fail, right? I mean, they're so massive. And somebody told me years ago, I used to do a high school sports show at area McDonald's. The people who own like 6 McDonald's. They were a local franchisee, and they own in Hendricks County, and then one in Speedway and one near Ben Davis High School. And they were telling me that the actual value in the McDonald's is the real estate.
Yes,
the actual
100% true.
The restaurant is almost like for show. The actual, I mean, obviously they're making some money, but the actual value is in the property, and that's why McDonald's is so wealthy, because there's so much real estate involved.
Yep.
But this article was talking about, like you're saying, some of these mid-level dining options, because let's face it, the St. Elmo people are still going to be able to afford to go to St. Elmo. The McDonald's people, which are becoming more and more people because of the price of food, are going to be going to McDonald's. But these mid-level people are sort of stuck in the middle and really struggling.
What you're describing is the sad death of the middle class that we have experienced precipitously under the Biden administration, which is why people have shown a willingness to run back to Trump, who was a pariah but 4 years ago, and now suddenly he is seriously in contention to win once again president of the United States. And I think the economic collapse that we're witnessing is part and parcel of it. Yes, you can't price out the people who are going to fine dining establishments because they always have the income to facilitate that. But you've priced out the middle class, because now those fast casual restaurants, like your Olive Gardens, like your Red Lobsters, like your, other mid-level establishments, now have priced their food, $20, $30 plates sometimes, which is more than a lot of people can afford, especially if you're taking 2, 3, 4, or 5 people in a family out to a fast casual place.
Do you ever eat out? I never see any photos of you going out. Like, you're a survivalist. Like, you've got a grill pit in your backyard. I've been to your house.
Yes.
Do you ever go out?
Of course. I enjoy going to some of the nice restaurants around.
Really?
Yes. I take advantage of Devour Indy when the deals come to town. I certainly like to eat around, but occasionally it's nice to treat yourself. More often than not, yes, I am economical like you, and I cook for myself because it's cheaper.
Well, but here's the thing with that.
I also don't need to eat a lot.
Well, I mean, because how much weight did you lose a couple of years ago?
70 pounds.
Yeah, and you've kept most of it off.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but even you mentioned it's cheaper to cook for yourself. I'm not so sure how true that is anymore. Like,
You're right. If you're buying pork or beef, it's not true.
Well, right. I mean, when you're, and it comes back to sort of the conversation Trump had with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which is about making America healthy. And by the way, I love the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. memes over Trump going to the McDonald's and doing the campaign event. Because obviously Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is like,
was he there?
No. He just, his whole thing is there's too much salt, there's too much fat. And Trump is doing a campaign event where he's dumping salt on French fries. But part of the conversation is it's too expensive to eat healthy. The things that are good for us are priced out of many people's range. And so thus, especially people on the lower side of the income scale are forced to just buy complete crap.
Yeah. It's true. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's almost no win in the Biden economy.
Yeah. By the way, are you voting for Trump?
Yes.
This is so crazy.
Yes.
I see you on social media, and Rob,
they done took all my choices away. It's the choice that I got. I ain't voting for Chase Oliver. Robert F. Kennedy quit. F. Kamala. So Trump it is. Woo! MAGA 2024, baby.
I see this, and every time I chuckle, and I was telling somebody the other day, I said, I think Ethan's voting for Trump. Yep. I don't know.
Ethan voted for Trump in 2020. Ethan's going to do it again in 2024.
Hey, man, this is a good show today. I'm glad we did it. What do you got coming up this Saturday? 7 o'clock Saturday night on The Circle.
Oh, figure it out.
Yeah, you're a true radio guy now. Yeah, that's right. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks to Ethan. Thanks to Kevin. Great job as always. Most want to thank you to you, the listener. Without you, there is no us. Stick around. Coming up next, Tony Katz, Kendall Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Xfinity here. How can we help?
Hi. My daughter invited her entire class to her birthday party. Can my Wi-Fi handle it?
Oh, well, at Xfinity, our latest gateways have tri-band Wi-Fi technology, letting you connect hundreds of devices at once.
No way. So if all the kids are watching stuff on their phones, well, their parents are sharing videos online.
Yep, go ahead and watch videos. They can all do their thing and party their way. No problem.
Oh, we are gonna need a bigger cake.
Now through December 22nd, new customers can get 150 megabit Xfinity internet for $35 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. And get free Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Xfinity, bring on the good stuff. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-525-9369, 800-525-9369, 800-525-9369.
High taxes can erode returns quickly. Are you keeping as much of your investment gains as possible? Let Creative Planning help with a free year-end tax review. This personalized review will help you reduce your tax burden before the year ends. It's the perfect time to take proactive steps to optimize your tax situation. Go to creativeplanning.com/radio and request your free tax review. Act now. This offer is only good till Monday, October 28th at midnight. That's creativeplanning.com/radio.
Tony Katz here for Premier Arms in Brownsburg, Central Indiana's premier arms dealer. They have over 1,200 firearms in stock, the largest selection of used firearms in the area, from pre-Civil War to modern guns. Premier Arms has always put their customers ahead of their profits. They always have ammunition available when a customer buys a firearm. Everyone can find what they're looking for at Premier Arms in Brownsburg, 3754 South Green Street. Find them online at premierarms.com. Premierarms.com. Tell them Tony Katz sent you.
Cybersecurity Awareness Month is in full swing, and LifeLock is here to spotlight the threat of phishing, those sneaky scams designed to trick you into revealing your personal information. While staying alert is important, true protection goes beyond just awareness. That's where LifeLock steps in with comprehensive protection. LifeLock doesn't just warn you about suspicious activity. LifeLock monitors your personal info and resolves identity theft issues if they arise. Take control of your security. Start your 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Join WIBC this Halloween for safe trick-or-treat at the Indiana State Fairgrounds starting at 5 p.m. This event is proudly presented to you by your Indiana Secretary of State. Make a plan to get to the polls and vote. Go to indianavoters.com to find polling locations.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors. For 1951 cabinetry, visit Drexel's Kitchen and Bath Design Centers at 146th and River Road, North Shadeland, or drexelin.com.
On the level, on the go. 93 WIBC Indianapolis.
Coming up,
we're going to see a wind gust this afternoon.
The kids put in a tremendous amount of time.
Democrats historically have balanced the budget.
We'll stop throwing our money overseas.
This is the WIBC News at noon.
This could be a very rare October. Mostly sunny and 68 degrees in the Circle City. I'm John Herrick. Here's what's trending at 12 noon. It is going to be windy today all across Indiana.
We're going to see a wind gust this afternoon between 15 and 25 miles per hour and sustained winds around 10 miles an hour.
Jason Puma with the National Weather Service in Indianapolis says don't expect any rain with this, though.
This system that's moving through just doesn't have a lot of moisture to work with. So we're just going to expect partly to mostly sunny skies today and a high near 78.
He says the wind is also causing an enhanced risk for fire, so it's best if you don't burn anything outside. Many areas of the state are dealing with either severe or moderate drought. Indianapolis has to receive at least 1/10 of an inch of rain by the end of the month. Otherwise, this will be the driest October in 154 years. You might have heard that the Future Farmers of America convention is happening this week in Indianapolis. Leah Lockett is a teacher and parent of an FFA student.
The kids put in a tremendous amount of time, and when a lot of their friends are playing video games or watching TikTok, these kids are studying Robert's Rules of Order, which is not necessarily what a lot of teenage kids study. So it's incredible what the time and energy that they're willing to put in.
Lockett says the FFA convention helps students grow as leaders, explore different career paths, and celebrate their work in farming, science, and business. The city of Beech Grove passed its 2025 budget Monday night. It's valued at $19 million. The mayor, James Kaufman, says it had bipartisan support, and all city employees received a pay boost of 3% to account for cost of living increases. He says it also ensures that Beech Grove police officers continue to remain at the higher end of the pay scale for law enforcement officers in Marion County. The Carmel City Council also unanimously approved their 2025 budget on Monday. It's $233 million. Carmel Mayor Sue Finkham says the Carmel Fire Department is getting close to $47 million of that, while the police department's supposed to get $37 million. Finkham says the money will be used to hire more officers and firefighters, as well as cover overtime costs, among other things. She says she's running for Senate because she has to. Kurt Darling reports on how Valerie McRae of Indiana wants to take her talents to Washington.
McRae, a Democrat, agrees the growing national debt is a problem and that the only way to fix it is to make the rich pay their fair share in taxes. She also claims
Democrats historically have balanced the budget. We grab it back at a crisis point and we get it fixed. And then they get the Republicans back in and they give all the money back to their ultra rich.
She also told All Indiana Politics that the issue of inflation in the U.S. has been exaggerated. McRae is taking on Republican Congressman Jim Banks. Kirk Darling, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
She's also debating Libertarian candidate Andy Horning on October 29th. Banks declined to take part in that debate. Both former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris visiting swing states on Monday.
We'll stop throwing our money overseas, and we're going to let our country benefit. We're going to put America first.
That's Trump in Asheville, North Carolina. He's holding a rally later today in Greensboro, North Carolina.
This election is presenting, for the first time probably in certainly recent history, a very clear choice and difference between the two nominees.
Harris, of course, arguing that she should be the president. More on what else is going on in North Carolina in a moment. And with Election Day being 2 weeks away, Fox's Eben Brown breaks down the presidential race.
The latest Fox News Power Rankings suggest the race between the former President Donald Trump and the current Vice President Kamala Harris is still a toss-up. That 93 forecastable Electoral College votes remain up for grabs. Our national survey released last week, however, did show the former president leading for the first time and by 2 percentage points, though the same survey suggested a 6% lead by the vice president in 7 battleground states. Early voting is underway in many states, and millions have already cast their ballots. Eben Brown, Fox News.
This is a story in Texas about how obsession can take its toll. Here's Fox's Therese Crowley.
The arrest warrant states 51-year-old Travis Merrill told Louisville police he was obsessed with his coworker at Allegiance Trucks, Tamara Colazzo, getting increasingly angry when she took what he considered to be long breaks during work, as well as not paying attention to him. Colazzo told Merrill to stop watching her and reported him to HR. They sent him to a counselor before clearing his return to work, but then she really avoided him, so he started buying guns. And last Thursday, ambushed her when she returned from lunch break to her cubicle. Police were there within minutes, but couldn't save her life from 5 gunshots. The obsessed coworker told police she caused him pain. He wanted her to feel pain. Therese Crowley, Fox News.
North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper says his essential-only travel ban for parts of western North Carolina has been lifted, but state transportation representatives continue to ask drivers to use caution while traveling in the region because more than 400 roads are still closed due to damage caused by Hurricane Helene. This man lives in North Carolina. He says it's been a struggle ever since he watched his home get washed away.
And we got sucked out the back window with me, my friend, and 3 dogs. Managed to survive long enough for a swiftwater rescue boat to come get us.
He's been sleeping in a tent ever since. Nearly 30 people are still missing there, and more than 250 people have died. And a benefit concert is being held by singer Bonnie Raitt in Charlotte to raise money for that region devastated by the hurricane. All proceeds from her show on November 20th will be given to nonprofits helping with the recovery. More information is available on Raitt's website. You've got a sunny sky, 68 degrees, high of 77 today. I'm Sean Herrick on The Level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, your American Standard air dealer in Hendricks County.
Live from the heartland and the crossroads of America, it's Tony Katz Today.
Sure, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Give a Latino microphone and we'll
That's all right. In your case.
Mr. President, I can't believe your courage, your fight, and I know why you're doing this. You're not doing it for anything but because you love this country, you love us, and we love you. And there's a big day coming up, November 5th. It's existential for this country. Yeah. And there's a day about 30 days later, 20-some days later, which is Thanksgiving. And I am looking for the day where we can sit around the table and thank God that President Trump is the 47th President of the United States. They're going to bring this country back.
This is a Latino roundtable in Miami. That's what this is right here. Kamala Harris took the day off. And Trump is not only doing this in Florida, he is scheduled to be campaigning. Where is he campaigning tonight? In North Carolina. While J.D. Vance is in Arizona. 2 different areas of Arizona. Tony Katz Today. What are you doing? 833-468-8669, 833-GOT-TONY. That's how you get to be a part of the show. Feel free, call in. Happy to talk to you. Oh, yeah, I'm going to dig more into it. Kamala Harris